Chapter 400, Grand Ceremony Celebration, promoted to 4th grade spiritual root. Once I'm more familiar with 2nd rank talismans and my success rate in talisman making improves, it won't be too late to hold the ceremony. Lu Chongqing mused for a moment. Since a grand ceremony was involved, there could be disruptions with people causing trouble, provocation, or even questioning it. Although he was equipped with 2nd grade talisman making skills and feared no challenges or doubts, it wouldn't be good to show his remarkable abilities too soon after becoming a 2nd grade talisman master. Therefore he would wait, and should such a situation arise he would be better prepared to address it. Alright, let's follow Changsheng's suggestion. Just let Miaocheng know when you're ready, Lu Yunzhong said, nodding his head upon hearing this. He found Lu Changsheng's words to make sense. Good Chongqing, just let me know when you're ready, Lu Miaocheng immediately nodded and said. He also mentioned that if Lu Chongqing needed to draw from the family's talisman-making materials, he could simply speak to him directly. As for the other benefits, since Lu Chongqing was already a family elder, there was no way to promote him further. They could only increase his monthly supply of materials for 2nd grade talisman making. To this, Lu Chongqing didn't have much to say. He was aware that a family's resources were limited and that they couldn't completely dedicate them to supporting one person's advancement to 2nd grade talisman master. That night. Yuner, what's on your mind? Lu Chongqing noticed that his wife, Lu Miaoyun, seemed to be preoccupied with thoughts. Husband, am I useless? Lu Miaoyun looked up with pursed lips and asked. Lu Chongqing, upon hearing this, had a hunch that his revealing of being a 2nd grade talisman master today might have put pressure on Lu Miaoyun, making her feel insecure, so he couldn't help but think more about it. He immediately reassured his wife by holding her delicate shoulders, saying, How could that be? If it wasn't for you managing our home so well, how could I focus on cultivating the talisman path with such ease? You shouldn't overthink it. We are husband and wife, bound to progress together for the rest of our lives. Lu Chongqing embraced his wife, comforting her with his warm voice. Despite typically being knowledgeable and sensible, the epitome of the wise matron managing the household well, Lu Chongqing knew that Lu Miaoyun was actually of a more delicate and gentle nature. Now facing his situation, she, as his wife, felt some pressure, which made him think further. Husband. Lu Miaoyun's moist and glossy lips barely parted as she stared blankly at her own husband. Your husband is here, always by your side. Don't overthink things. If you have something on your mind, just speak to me about it directly. Lu Chongqing looked at her face, beautiful as the blooming flowers, and spoke with a tender voice. He wasn't a heartless man. Although marrying and having children were parts of his life, he would still fulfill his responsibilities. A virtuous wife supports my lofty aspirations. In turn, I'll reward my virtuous wife with a wealth of gold. Husband. Lu Miaoyun's eyelashes trembled slightly as she called out softly, nestling into Lu Changsheng's embrace. Let's sleep. Lu Chongqing chuckled softly, revealing his wife's previously cute and naive side. Emichong. As Lu Miaoyun heard his words, she softly replied, the tick-tock of her lashes indicating her tranquil state as she gradually fell asleep. Lu Chongqing watched his petite lovely wife in his arms, listening to her steady breathing, feeling a profound sense of peace in his heart. Time flew like water, and in the blink of an eye, half a year passed. On this day, Lu Chongqing was accompanying Xianxia on a stroll through the streets. Being 6 months pregnant, Xianxia's belly was quite obvious now. And as the pregnancy progressed, this normally aloof and pure fairy of the Moon Palace was no longer as indifferent as before. She would occasionally touch her protruding belly with a look of maternal radiance on her face. Chongqing, the baby is kicking me, Xianxia said, acting coquettishly to Lu Chongqing as she felt the baby's movements. Alright, I've noted it, and once he is born, I'll discipline him for you. Lu Chongqing immediately stroked the fairy's jade-like belly, speaking softly. Humph, what kind of father holds a grudge against his own child? Xianxia said, pinching Lu Chongqing in response. If someone bullies my wife, of course I'll hold a grudge. Lu Chongqing hummed. Just then, a mysterious tremor came, accompanied by the sound of a system notification. Congratulations, host, for reaching a count of 35 descendants with spiritual roots. You have earned 1 lottery opportunity. This mysterious vibration was not a fleeting one. Rather, it caused a tremor throughout his body, filling Lu Changsheng's heart with an indescribable joy. He knew that his spiritual root had ascended. It had advanced from a 5th grade spiritual root to a 4th grade spiritual root. This child's spiritual root is at least a 5th grade and possibly even a 4th grade. Lu Changsheng thought to himself with excitement. Previously he had only 3 descendants with a 6th grade spiritual root. With such lower grade spiritual roots, it was somewhat difficult for his own 5th grade spiritual root to advance to a 4th grade. Now that his own spiritual root had directly advanced to 4th grade, he knew that this child's spiritual root was exceptionally good. It's about time. After having 141 children, I've finally had a stroke of good luck. Lu Changsheng muttered to himself. However, glancing at Xianxia beside him, he held his peace, reined in his spirit, and pretended as if nothing had happened, continuing to stroll with her casually. After the two had wandered for another half an hour, they returned to their cave dwelling. And at that time Lu Changsheng went to the quiet room by himself. System. Lu Changsheng mentally called out. Name, Lu Changsheng. Identity, 9th Elder of Qingzhou Mountain, Cultivation Level, Foundation Establishment First Layer, Lifespan, 35/269, Talent, 4th Grade Spiritual Root, Gingjin Body Constitution Intermediate Spiritual Body, Cultivation Technique, 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art, 7 Luminaries Great Freedom Sword Scripture, Yin-Yang Harmony Technique, Immortal Beauty Technique. Spells, 7 Luminaries Sword Light, 7 Luminaries Sword Shield, 7 Luminaries Sword. Escape. Items, 9 Treasure Jade Rui Luminous Treasure Tree Golden Armor Bean Mother, Black Dragon Magical Bead, Book of Malevolent Curses and Fates, Life Substituting Talisman, Profound Origin Bead, Coagulation Crystal Elixir. Skills, Talisman Making 2nd Rank, Puppetry 2nd Rank, Spirit Slaughterer 2nd Rank. Spiritual Pets, 9 Netherhound Peach Blossom Goo, 6 Winged Golden Silkworm Hope Goo. Descendants, 141 of 144. A 4th grade spiritual root, just one more step. And he'll have an upper grade spiritual root. Lu Changsheng looked at the accurately displayed 4th grade spiritual root on the system panel, feeling elated. Then he glanced at the descendant section. With a slight move of his spirit he found his newly born child. Name, unnamed. Lifespan, 179th. Talent, 4th grade spiritual root. Cultivation level, none. A 4th grade spiritual root, it really is a 4th grade. Lu Changsheng looked at this child with great surprise. He had previously guessed that this child was at least a 5th grade spiritual root and possibly even a 4th grade. Now seeing it confirmed on the system panel he was finally assured. With a 4th grade spiritual root apart from Qingshan, this child has the best talent among all my children. Lu Changsheng was very pleased. The most talented of his children was originally Lu Qingshan with a 6th grade spiritual root, who possessed the Gingjin Body Constitution. This child's 4th grade spiritual root, although not as good as Lu Qingshan's, was still quite excellent. He believed that with his guidance, this child would have no trouble achieving foundation establishment in the future. A 4th grade spiritual root, if I so desire, I could even consider sending him to an immortal sect later. Lu Changsheng thought to himself. Although he felt capable of nurturing the child himself, he also entertained the idea of diversifying. Some children he could cultivate at home, others he could send to immortal sects. This approach not only saved resources and provided better growth environments for the children, but could also expand the family's network of connections. Moreover, sending a child to the Qingyun sect would mean Xianxia could help look after them. However, there's a downside to everything. Sending children to immortal sects would undoubtedly diminish their proximity and connection to the family. And sending them to immortal sects with all the competition and sect responsibilities, it may not necessarily be better than being in the family. Well, that's still a ways off, no need to rush. Lu Changsheng exhaled lightly, not dwelling on the matter. Mentally he said, System, draw the lottery. Since he was entitled to a lottery he naturally wouldn't hold on to it, instead planning to use it right away. Immediately, the system's attribute panel blurred and transformed into the familiar lottery wheel. Draw the lottery. Looking at the lottery wheel, Lu Changsheng's spirit stirred as he began to participate in the draw. Chapter 401. 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock. The mouse sees the sun again. _1. Ding. Congratulations to the host on obtaining the magical treasure, 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock. The reward has been issued to the system space. The host can check it at any time. The golden light paused at the magical treasures category. Immediately, a black chain with innumerable shadows emerged from the spinning wheel, accompanied by a system notification sound. Magical treasures? Lu Chongqing looked at the reward he won from the lottery, his eyebrows raising slightly. If it had been before, winning a magical treasure from the lottery would have felt quite nice. But now, with the 9 treasure jade rui, the black dragon magical bead, and 1 magical treasure embryo, the speed of his 100 refinements treasure body art had already reached its peak. He no longer felt anything for magical treasures. After all, with his current foundation establishment cultivation, he couldn't activate a magical treasure. Other than using it for cultivating the 100 refinements treasure body art, it was practically useless, an utter superfluity. However, one can never have too many magical treasures. Once I reach the late stage of foundation establishment, relying on the profound origin bead, I should almost be able to activate magical treasures. Moreover, magical treasures can also be used by my children. If any of these children can cultivate the 100 refinements treasure body art, I can definitely let them infuse the magical treasures into their bodies to assist in their cultivation. Not only would it enable them to advance quickly, but it's also equivalent to me improving. A single magical treasure, double the benefits. Lu Chongqing exhaled softly, murmuring to himself. He planned to imprint the magical treasure into the body of whichever child could cultivate the 100 refinements treasure body art in the future. After all, once the child cultivated, the effects would stack onto himself. The only issue now was that the children were young, and he wasn't quite willing to teach orthodox-level cultivation techniques to outsiders. Moreover, orthodox-level cultivation techniques were not so easy to practice. He had personally taught Lu Miaoge the exquisite-level Saturn Solar Sword technique for nearly half a month before she gained a preliminary understanding. This orthodox-level 100 refinements treasure body technique was countless times more difficult. In the process of cultivation, if there was any carelessness, it could lead to problems and injury to oneself. Therefore, he must be cautious and handle it with care. Sigh, if only I could directly impart cultivation techniques to these children as well. Lu Chongqing sighed in his heart, feeling wistful. After relying on the system to inherit the soul dispersion needle from the Red Phoenix True Scripture, he profoundly appreciated how awesome it was to have techniques directly transmitted by the system. Otherwise, even if he understood all the principles and theories, practicing them was another matter entirely. Without further thought, Lu Chongqing looked toward the system space. He was checking the magical treasure he had just won. Magical treasure, 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock. Grade, Superior Quality Magical Treasure. Description: Ghost Celestial sought hundreds of demon warhorses that had battled through many wars and tortured them relentlessly, so that their resentful spirits would soar as they died, their souls not dissipating, and refine them into horses. Eventually, he infused the spirits of 100 horses into the towering pagoda chains, creating the 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock. When used against an enemy, the 100 horses charge fiercely, collapsing mountains and tearing the earth asunder, shattering both body and soul of the opponent. Superior Quality Magical Treasure. Looks like it belongs to the Demonic Path Magical Treasure. Although the method of refining Demonic Path magical treasures is quite cruel, their power and effects are generally impressive. But this description really does illustrate the effectiveness. When facing an enemy, upon unleashing the magical treasure, 100 horses barrel through with such force that mountains collapse and the earth splits, scattering the opponent's body and soul. Lu Chongqing nodded slightly, examining the description of the magical treasure's effects. But after looking at it a couple of times, he didn't pay it much more attention, letting the magical treasure remain in the system space. He decided to take it out when it was needed in the future. I wonder how much my 4th grade spiritual root has improved compared to before. After the lottery draw, Lu Chongqing felt unenthusiastic, thinking about his recently advanced 4th grade spiritual root. He immediately closed his eyes and sat in meditation, with his heart open to heaven, channeling the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture. Who? After cultivating for an hour, Lu Chongqing opened his eyes and exhaled a turbid breath. From the recent cultivation, he could clearly sense that his speed of cultivation had improved. about 30% compared to before. Although it was only 30%, this effect was already quite remarkable. It allowed his speed of cultivation to increase significantly. Moreover, apart from the speed of cultivation, having a superior spiritual root also made it easier to break through bottlenecks. However, a 4th grade spiritual root only helps with minor bottlenecks. For my current situation, it won't have any noticeable effect on the major bottleneck of core formation in the future. If I could advance my spiritual root to a heavenly spiritual root before core formation, then breaking through would pose no bottleneck at all. Lu Chongqing thought to himself. He could not help but look forward to the day when he would be blessed with a stroke of luck, spawning a child with a heavenly spiritual root. That way his spiritual root would be perfected in one fell swoop, sparing him the slow grind. Shaking his head to dispel these impractical fantasies, Lu Chongqing stepped out of the meditation room. After chatting with Xianxia for a while, he left the cave dwelling and went to the Lu family spiritual talisman shop. Daddy. Upon arriving on the 3rd floor, Lu Qingzhu, who was quietly reading a book by herself, saw Lu Chongqing and called out sweetly. Little Zhu, where is your mother? Lu Chongqing, seeing his daughter alone, showed a gentle smile and asked. His daughter was 6 years old now, even more adorable in appearance. With her chubby and baby-soft cheeks, he couldn't help but pinch them. Mommy is in the room drawing talismans. Lu Qingzhu said in a sweet, milky voice. Guessing that there must be a customer who ordered or needed a specific talisman, Lu Chongqing didn't go to disturb Lu Miaoge. He walked over and sat beside his daughter, asking, What are you looking at, little Zhu? Daddy, look. Lu Qingzhu handed the album she was holding to Lu Chongqing. Chapter 402. 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock. The Mouse Sees the Sun Again. This is a photo album. Inside is a forest teeming with all sorts of spiritual beasts living and playing. Since it's for young children's enlightenment, these spiritual beasts are relatively mild and adorable. There won't be any ferocious and terrifying demon beasts. Little Zhu, do you know what this is? Lu Chongqing asked, pointing to a purple parrot. Lu Qingzhu shook her head with a dazedly cute expression. Then she looked at Lu Chongqing with her innocent, wide eyes, waiting for him to introduce it. Lu Chongqing smiled at his daughter's antics. He ruffled her little head, which was tied into 2 buns, and said, This is a purple jade parrot. It understands human language and can speak. As he spoke, Lu Chongqing tapped the purple jade parrot on the jade scroll. Hello. Immediately, the parrot let out a crisp greeting. Oh, hello. Lu Qingzhu responded with her dazedly cute voice. If little Zhu likes it, Daddy will buy one for you, Lu Chongqing said to his daughter, who was exhibiting her adorable behavior. This purple jade parrot was only a low-level demon beast, a type kept for ornamental purposes, and many cultivators domesticated them as pets to keep at home. They were also available for sale in the Red Leaf Valley market. Oh, Daddy, this one. Lu Qingzhu, hearing this, flipped through the album a couple of pages with her little hand, and pointed to a white-furred hamster to show Lu Chongqing. Little Zhu, you like this kind? Lu Chongqing was taken aback upon hearing this. He hadn't expected his daughter to prefer the white-furred hamster over the talking purple jade parrot. But indeed, the white-furred hamster was quite cute. Its body was snow-white, fluffy, and had an adorable appearance, so it was normal for children to like it. At this moment he remembered he had a similar-looking golden hamster in his spiritual pet bag. The earth spirit mouse he had gotten from Mengyi Bai. Since this earth spirit mouse was stolen property, he had always kept it in the spiritual pet bag. Every now and then he would throw a few spirit-rearing pellets into the bag to feed it. Little Zhu, how about this one? Immediately, Lu Chongqing reached into the spiritual pet bag and pulled out the earth spirit mouse. This earth spirit mouse was about the same size as the white-furred hamster in the album, only the size of a palm. With golden fur and a harmlessly cute appearance, it was very adorable. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The earth spirit mouse, which hadn't breathed fresh air for more than 3 years in the spiritual pet bag, was finally seeing daylight again and started calling out happily. Oh, a mouse! Upon seeing the adorable earth spirit mouse, Lu Qingzhu's sparkling eyes widened even further. Her little head moved slightly forward, and she leaned in to get a closer look at the earth spirit mouse. Behave yourself. Lu Chongqing, holding the hamster, gave it a few rubs and conveyed his thoughts to the earth spirit mouse through the beast control token. He clearly remembered that this earth spirit mouse possessed no small amount of spiritual intelligence. It even knew how to acknowledge someone as an adoptive father. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The earth spirit mouse immediately responded to Lu Chongqing. It showed that the mouse was the most well-behaved and sensible one. Lu Chongqing believed this as well. He dared to bring this earth spirit mouse out for his daughter to play with because he had researched information about it and knew its temperament. Though it possessed an earth-grade bloodline, it was as timid as a mouse. Aside from running away, it wouldn't really fight. Its primary use was treasure hunting. It had an extremely keen sense of smell for spiritual medicine, heavenly materials and earthly treasures, or even for spirit minerals and spirit veins. It could also sniff a particular medicine, heavenly material or earthly treasure, and as long as someone had touched the spiritual medicine or treasure within a short period, it could sniff them out. Plainly speaking, it was very sensitive to spiritual energy and spiritual mechanisms. Come here, little Zhu. Lu Chongqing spread out his hand, letting his daughter touch the golden hamster. With him beside her, he wasn't worried about how the earth spirit mouse would behave. If it did anything unexpected, he could stop it immediately. Oh. Lu Qingzhu stretched out her delicate little hand and carefully touched the earth spirit mouse. Although the earth spirit mouse was only palm-sized for an adult, that is, to a 6-year-old little girl, it was still quite big. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The earth spirit mouse played along well, realizing that this scary person brought it to entertain the human child. It immediately rubbed its little head against Lu Qingzhu's small hand. Oh, Daddy. Lu Qingzhu was startled, then grew bolder and petted the earth spirit mouse, calling out to Lu Chongqing. Here, you take it. Lu Chongqing smiled and handed over the earth spirit mouse to his daughter. Oh. Lu Qingzhu immediately cradled the golden hamster in her hands and rubbed it in her arms, her little face beaming with happiness. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The earth spirit mouse continued to cooperate. Little Zhu, you can feed it this. Lu Chongqing took out a bottle of spirit-nourishing pills, poured one out, and handed it to his daughter to feed to the earth spirit mouse. After all, feeding a pet was also a form of joy. Oh. Lu Qingzhu cradled the earth spirit mouse with one arm while feeding it the spirit-nourishing pill with the other. Immediately, the little golden hamster showed its 2 teeth, began nibbling on the elixir medicines and happily squeaked. In its spiritual pet bag, because Lu Chongqing was so busy he had forgotten about it, it often had to go without food. This made it learn to eat the spirit-nourishing pills sparingly. So, getting an extra meal today made it extremely happy. Daddy, look. After a while, Lu Qingzhu watched the earth spirit mouse nibble on the elixir medicines by itself, her mouth forming a surprised "oh," and called out to Lu Chongqing. Little Zhu, do you like this mouse? Lu Chongqing asked his daughter. If his daughter said she liked it, he would give this earth spirit mouse to Lu Qingzhu. After all, it was just sitting on him and used, so it would be better if it became a companion for his daughter. His daughter spent most of her time on Qingzhu Mountain and only occasionally visited the Red Leaf Valley Market. Chapter 403. 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock. The mouse sees the sun again. He didn't have to worry about being targeted by Meng Yubai's false core elder. After all, if the elder could really track him down through an earth spirit mouse, he would have already done so. Moreover, although earth spirit mice are rare, they aren't so rare that people would think too much upon seeing one. Daddy-like. Lu Qingzhu looked at the earth spirit mouse in her hand, then turned towards Lu Chongqing, her sparkling eyes brimming with affection. Since that's the case, Daddy will give this little mouse to my little Zhu. Lu Chongqing said with a smile. Oh, thank you, Daddy. Upon hearing this, Lu Qingzhu's little face showed her happiness. Then she put down the hamster, stood up and reached out both her arms towards Lu Chongqing. Seeing this, Lu Chongqing picked up his daughter. Moo-ah. Once picked up, Lu Qingzhu immediately planted a strong kiss on her daddy's face. She knew her daddy liked to kiss her cheeks to show his affection. So she kissed Lu Chongqing back to show her affection. Ha, such a good girl, Moo-ah. Lu Chongqing laughed heartily, promptly nibbling on his daughter's chubby cheeks. Chongqing, you're back. What's making you so happy? At this moment, the door to the talisman room opened. Lu Miaoga, clad in a snow-white dress, her visage gentle and lovely, walked out. Seeing the father and daughter so joyous, a beautiful smile graced her face as she spoke. Hee, seeing my darling daughter and wife naturally makes me happy. Lu Chongqing said with a smile. Still so slick-tongued even though you're a father now. Lu Miaoge responded with a quip, rolling her eyes affectionately at Lu Chongqing while smiling sweetly. Oh mommy mouse. At that moment, Lu Qingzhu in Lu Changsheng's arms pointed towards the earth spirit mouse, which had finished gnawing on the spirit pill and called out to Lu Miaoge. Mouse. Lu Miaoge looked to the side and instantly noticed the earth spirit mouse. After scrutinizing it for a moment, she turned to Lu Chongqing and asked in surprise, "Is this a seeking spirit mouse?" In the cultivation world, there were numerous spiritual beasts with treasure-seeking abilities. These were particularly common among rodents. Due to their similar appearance, it was difficult to distinguish between them. Therefore, many referred to these treasure-seeking rodent spiritual beasts collectively as seeking spirit mice. That's right, it's a seeking spirit mouse. I saw this seeking spirit mouse at a stall earlier and thought about buying it to look for treasure later, but then I realized that I hardly ever leave the house. Just now, seeing that little Zhu likes this type of hamster, I decided to give it to her as a companion. Lu Chongqing nodded and explained without any concealment. After all, it's easy to recognize a spirit mouse with a seeking spirit mouse bloodline. They typically have golden fur and are palm-sized. This is such a waste. Who spoils their daughter like you do, giving her a seeking spirit mouse as a playmate? Lu Miaoge said reproachfully upon hearing this. Seeking spirit mice might lack combat ability, but just their treasure-seeking effect alone made many families and powers eager to obtain them. Hence, spiritual beasts with treasure-seeking abilities generally had a high value. Although she didn't know how many spirit stones Lu Chongqing had spent, she felt it was a lavish expense. As long as little Zhu is happy, that's all that matters. Lu Chongqing smiled and said. When little Zhu grows up and starts cultivating, who knows, she might find some treasures with this seeking spirit mouse. Every year, Qingzhu Mountain held a spiritual root testing ceremony. This year, Lu Qingzhu was tested at the ceremony and found to have a 7th grade spiritual root, which relieved both Lu Yuanding and Lu Miaoge. They had feared the child would have no spiritual root and would have to be sent to live an ordinary life. Lu Qingshan also had his spiritual root aptitude tested, but it seemed the Qingzhu Mountain testing crystal was too shoddy, as it only confirmed the presence of a spiritual root, and failed to detect Lu Qingshan's Gingjin body constitution. Regarding this, Lu Chongqing theorized aside from the poor quality of the testing crystal, it was also because Lu Qingshan's Gingjin body constitution was still growing. Just keep pampering her. Lu Miaoge smiled and shook her head, no longer saying anything. Since her husband had given their daughter a playmate, she, as a mother, naturally couldn't say no. Moreover, once Lu Qingzhu grew older, maybe she really could find some treasure with the help of the earth spirit mouse. Mother. Lu Qingzhu pointed to the earth spirit mouse and called out to her mother. Oh, such a cute little mouse, does little Zhu like it? Seeing this, Lu Miaoge immediately came forward with a gentle smile on her face. She also picked up the earth spirit mouse to take a closer look. She wanted to see if it was a mid-grade gold-seeking mouse or a high-grade seeking spirit mouse. I like it. Lu Qingzhu said in her childish voice. If you like it, then little Zhu needs to take good care of it, okay? Lu Miaoge told her daughter. Okay. Lu Qingzhu nodded vigorously. After chatting with her daughter for a bit, Lu Miaoge let Lu Chongqing watch over her. She went to deliver the talisman she had just finished making. Lu Chongqing watched his daughter holding the little hamster, looking at it from every angle, and handed her a bottle of spirit-nurturing pills to feed and play with it. After a short while, Lu Miaoge came back. She looked at her well-behaved and quiet daughter chatting idly with Lu Chongqing. Chongqing, how familiar are you with the Thunder Fire Talisman now? At that moment Lu Miaoge inquired. I'm about 40 or 50% confident. Lu Chongqing said out loud. That fast? Lu Miaoge exclaimed with surprise and delight on her face. This success rate was not low. After all, a second-rank low-grade talisman could bring about a 20-fold profit. Even with a success rate of 10 or 20%, one could roughly make money. Of course, that was not counting the accumulated practice over days and months. Like Lu Miaoge, who was currently practicing second-rank talismans, she practiced only once per day when she was at her best condition. After all, the practice cost of over 20 spirit stones was truly heart-wrenching. Even if the Lu family's talisman paper was made from their own jade spirit bamboo, costing only the price of materials, it was still painful. It's okay, isn't it? I've been improving a bit every month. Lu Chongqing said with a smile. Who makes progress every month? Lu Miaoge felt somewhat struck by her husband's words. Talisman making, much like cultivation, often faced bottlenecks that could last a lifetime without progress. Even worse, if one's mentality was affected, one could regress on the talisman path. Possibly even the talismans they were once able to draw would get worse. That's what's happening to me right now. Lu Chongqing said with laughter. Yes, my husband is the greatest. Lu Miaoge's face broke into an indulgent smile. She then inquired, by the way, Chongqing, when do you plan to hold your second-grade talisman master ceremony? In a few more months, I guess. I'll wait until my success rate improves a bit and I get familiar with a few other talismans, then I'll notify the family head. Lu Chongqing said thoughtfully. In his view, after holding the ceremony, he would definitely be busy for a while. Now that Xianxia was about 4 months away from giving birth. If he were to inform the Lu family now, preparing and sending out invitations would take about a month or two. The timing could easily overlap. So he planned to wait until after Xianxia had given birth before organizing the ceremony. Lu Miaoge nodded. She knew that the talisman path was analogous to other skills. Once proficient in one type of talisman, mastering others would become much easier. She thought her husband truly approached things with a steady hand. Even for a ceremony, he insisted on being fully prepared. This was also thanks to her husband's exceptional talent and rapid progress on the talisman path. Otherwise, for someone else to do the same might take 3 to 5 years or even longer toil. Chapter 404. Reduce Expenses and Increase Income. 99 Mysterious Talisman Scripture. _1. 3 months later. In the residential area of Red Leaf Valley Market. Lu Chongqing cycled the 7 luminaries' Great Freedom Sword Scripture, his body surrounded by 7 sword radiances, elegant and fierce, fluctuating unpredictably, making his robes billow and flutter. As nature's spiritual energy continued to sweep over him, the sword chi around his body became even sharper, forming a powerful spiritual pressure. Boom! With a thunderous noise inside his body, the spiritual pressure gradually dissipated. 3 years and 7 months, Foundation Establishment Second Level. Lu Chongqing opened his eyes, a faint smile forming on his lips. He then inwardly examined his divine sense to check his condition after the breakthrough. His Danshan Sea of Qi had expanded again, able to hold even more liquefied mana. With the breakthrough in cultivation level, his divine sense also improved slightly. However, as his divine sense had already expanded to 150 zhang under the effects of the Purple Mansion elixir, this breakthrough only added about another 7 or 8 zhang to its range. I wonder when I will be able to draw alchemy skills through the system. Otherwise, this way the elixir medicines of the Qi refinement realm will be almost useless to me with very minimal effects. Lu Chongqing glanced at the empty bottles of condensing energy elixirs beside him and exhaled softly. In a large marketplace like Qingyun Market with big shops like Qingyun Commerce Guild and Elixir Cauldron Pavilion, you can still buy some elixirs that advance foundation establishment cultivation if you're willing to spend the money. But it's harder in a marketplace like Red Leaf Valley. Even elixirs that enhance energy refinement late-stage cultivation level are in limited supply. Otherwise, with the 7 luminaries heart lamp to refine elixir toxicity and burn mana, his cultivation speed could be twice as fast. Without thinking too much more, after slightly stabilizing his mana, Lu Chongqing cast a cleansing technique on himself. He cleared away the slight impurities and dust brought by the marrow cleansing during his breakthrough, walking out of the practice room feeling refreshed and clear-headed. Congratulations to Mr. Lu on reaching the 2nd level of foundation establishment. In the living room, Xianxia looked at Lu Chongqing, her stunning face breaking into a gentle smile. 9 months pregnant, her abdomen was now prominently round. But this did not detract from her beauty. Instead, it added a mature and full-bodied charm to her figure. Her icy skin and bone structure, along with her pure and serene face, also began to exude an enchanting maternal charm over time. It turned her original coolness entirely into a gentle beauty. Her every move revealed a holy and pure beauty. "It's just a minor breakthrough," he remarked. "If it weren't for this little one, you would have been close to breaking through as well," said Lu Chongqing, looking tenderly at Xianxia. "Even without this little one, I wouldn't have broken through to the 2nd level of foundation establishment so quickly." Xianxia gently said, touching her belly. Although she had cultivated alongside Lu Chongqing and made rapid progress, she still spent time consolidating her cultivation foundations after each dual cultivation session. Unlike Lu Chongqing, who constantly burned mana with the 7 luminaries heart lamp to refine his foundations. Moreover, aside from cultivating, she also had to take time out every day to practice her techniques and divine skills. Therefore, she was quite surprised at how quickly Lu Chongqing had broken through to the second level of foundation establishment. After all, she knew from her daily interactions with Lu Chongqing that he only spent 2 or 3 hours a day on cultivation. And after witnessing Lu Chongqing deal with 2 foundation establishment robber cultivators, she instinctively thought he must have spent a lot of time cultivating his divine technique and skills. Otherwise, how could he possess such divine abilities? Having to spend time with his wives and children as well as cultivate divine technique and skills, and also focus on the talisman path, it was naturally surprising to her that his cultivation could progress so swiftly under these circumstances. However, she did not ask further, knowing that Lu Chongqing had great secrets and a rare spiritual or possibly Daoist body. Otherwise, with a 9th grade spiritual root, such speed in cultivation would be impossible. "You've worked hard, Xiyu," Lu Chongqing said gently, taking a seat beside her. He tenderly stroked Xiaoxia's rounded, fair and soft belly with his palm. "It's not hard work. For me, this is also cultivation and experience." Xiaoxia gently shook her head. Since becoming pregnant, she could clearly sense a change in her mental state. It allowed her new insights and understandings of the supreme forgetful love technique, considering it as part of the myriad experiences and practices of mortal life. Lu Changsheng's mouth twitched slightly upon hearing this. He thought to himself that this supreme forgetful love technique really made one continuously associate everything with cultivation. After chatting with Xiaoxia for a while, Lu Chongqing mentioned had returned to Qingzhou Mountain for a visit. Although Xiaoxia was pregnant and he was spending more time and energy here, he couldn't just neglect Qingzhou Mountain and Rui Prefecture. He would still go back every month or two to handle various matters, check on his wives and children, and additionally work on conceiving more children. Now, the total number of his children had reached 146. After returning to Qingzhou Mountain as usual, Lu Chongqing inquired about the cultivation situations of his children and Bai Ling. His son Lu Xinji had been stuck at the middle stage of qi refinement and remained at the 3rd level. Lu Chongqing hadn't given him any breakthrough elixir, allowing him to gradually overcome the bottleneck on his own. After all, using breakthrough elixirs at this stage would inevitably affect later progress. Despite being a 9th grade spiritual root with basically no potential for further growth, Lu Chongqing believed it was best to break through on one's own if possible, and there was no rush for time. Lu Chuanjin had also reached the 3rd level of qi refinement. His daughters Lu Rui and Lu Yun, on the other hand, were at the 2nd level. As for Bai Ling, she had long since broken through to the 4th level of qi refinement, and it was estimated that before long she would reach the 5th level. This pace left Lu Chongqing astounded. In just 3 short years, even without his provision of elixir medicines, she had cultivated to the 4th level of qi refinement and was close to breaking through to the 5th level. Chapter 405. Cutting Costs and Increasing Income, the 99 Mysterious Talisman Scripture. This speed is not at all inferior to that of Xiaoxia's initial progress and even surpasses it by a notch. Afterward, Lu Chongqing inquired about the situation of his other children. The 5th child with a spiritual root has also reached 12 years of age, and has started the cultivation process. But he has not yet completed the drawing in of qi. Starting from next year, the children who are able to cultivate will experience a minor burst in growth. Lu Chongqing spent an entire day caring for and inquiring after all his children. He knew that in the next 4 years he would have 15 children with spiritual roots stepping onto the path of immortality. This was thanks to his frenetic sowing when he first arrived at 9 Dragons Market. In just 5 short years he had fathered 60 children. On average, 1 child per month. If it hadn't been for the 2nd and 4th elders persuading him to take care of his body and show some restraint, the number might have been even higher. 9 Dragons Market. Lu Chongqing reflected on the days when he bought maids from the White Jade Tower in 9 Dragons Market. It feels like it's time to select some more maids. He couldn't help but think to himself. Among these wives and maids, apart from Lu Miaoge, who had only given birth to 1, Lu Miaohuan had borne 2. The others had at least 3 or 4 each. Some of the concubines had gone as far as having 5 or 6 children. In Lu Changsheng's view, this number was about right. Although the purchased maids had no rights. They couldn't be treated solely as breeding machines. Empathy was key. The concubines needed to be devoted to him wholeheartedly. Otherwise, when the children grew up seeing their mothers treated like this, they would feel uncomfortable too. If the outflow is to be stemmed, the source must be widened by increasing the number of maids. Moreover, I now have the money to go to the White Jade Tower and purchase maids with middle grade and even upper grade spiritual roots. Lu Chongqing thought to himself for a moment. He decided to visit the White Jade Tower in Nine Dragons Market when he had some free time. It wasn't just about income and expenditure. All his maids were of lower grade spiritual roots. This had a certain influence on the spiritual root talent of the children born. Now that his circumstances had improved, it was time for a further step in selective breeding. After all, the higher the parents' spiritual roots, the better the children's spiritual roots would be. After staying in Qingzhou Mountain for 10 days, Lu Chongqing prepared to return to Red Leaf Valley Market. Boom. Just then, a relatively dense cultivation level surged into Lu Changsheng's body from nowhere. He immediately knew that his son Lu Xianji had broken through the bottleneck of the middle stage of qi refinement. He had reached the 4th level of energy refinement. The 4th level of energy refinement, if not counting the quality of spiritual power and mana, is about 1% of my current cultivation level. It's equivalent to saving me a month and a half of arduous cultivation. Lu Chongqing closed his eyes to feel the incoming cultivation strength and roughly estimated. If we calculate this way, 100 cultivators at the 4th level of energy refinement would be equal to 1 foundation establishment. However, the quality difference in mana allows a foundation establishment cultivator to easily slaughter 100 cultivators in the middle stage of energy refinement. Lu Chongqing shook his head slightly, knowing such calculations were not feasible. But reaching the middle stage of energy refinement at least has some effect on me. When breaking through to the 2nd and 3rd levels of energy refinement earlier, there was no perceivable impact on me. Now that I'm at the foundation establishment level for my children to impact me, they need to be at the late stage of qi refinement. But waiting for a child to cultivate to the late stage of energy refinement will probably take another 10 to 20 years. Lu Chongqing took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. The path of cultivation seemed long and distant. After all, aside from Lu Qingshan and the previously mentioned son with a 4th grade spiritual root, Lu Qingxian, the spiritual roots of his current children were mediocre at best. There were only 2 with 6th grade middle spiritual roots. All the others were of lower grade spiritual roots. But indeed, as I suspected, there was no achievement reward for the child breaking through to the middle stage of qi refinement. Could it be that such cultivation-related achievement rewards won't trigger again until they break through to foundation establishment? If that's the case, it's way too difficult. Lu Chongqing saw no system notification and shook his head inwardly. Although he had anticipated this, he still held a faint hope. He wanted to see if breaking through to the middle stage of qi refinement would trigger an achievement reward. Xianxia is also 15 or 16 now, having broken through to the middle stage of qi refinement. It's time to let him gain some experience in Red Leaf Valley Market. Seeing Lu Xianzi's breakthrough to the middle stage of qi refinement, Lu Chongqing thought about his son who was no longer young. He planned to let him go out to broaden his horizon and get tempered. After all, flowers cannot be grown in a greenhouse. These children were his future foundation. They would need them to manage the family later on. Even with average spiritual roots, they must be well cultivated. Thereupon Lu Chongqing walked towards Lu Xianzi's courtyard. Dad, I've broken through to the middle stage of energy refinement. At that moment, Lu Xianji emerged from the courtyard, his face bright with joy. Seeing Lu Chongqing, he spoke with excitement. Not bad, far stronger than your father back in the day, Lu Chongqing said, not sparing on praises. How could the child dare to compare with you, father? Back then you relied on your own efforts to progress step by step. If it weren't for the resources you spent and the environment you provided, how could I have broken through to the middle stage of energy refinement so quickly? Lu Xianji quickly responded. The praise from his father, though thrilling, he was very aware that his current wealth was entirely due to standing on his father's shoulders. Guided by his grandmother's teachings and interaction with other Lu family disciples, he knew that many Lu family disciples didn't have conditions as favorable as his brothers and sisters. His father had used all his cultivation resources to support them. Especially since he only has a 9th-grade spiritual root, deemed unworthy of cultivation, yet his father chose to treat him no differently. Chapter 406. Open Sources and Save Expenditures, the 99 Mysterious Talisman Scriptures. Therefore in his heart, Lu Xinji still held immense admiration and respect for his own father. Your father strives hard in the hope that your path will be smoother and you will go farther than I have. Upon hearing his son's words, Lu Chongxing smiled and patted him on the shoulder, saying. He then continued, now that you've broken through to the middle stage of qi refinement, I plan to take you to the marketplace to broaden your horizons and gain some experience. What do you think? Son will follow father's arrangements. Upon hearing this, Lu Xinji immediately nodded in agreement. Having been in Qingzhou Mountain for so many years, he naturally yearned for the cultivation world and wanted to go out and see it for himself. Good, prepare yourself. Tomorrow, come with me to the Red Leaf Valley Market. Lu Chongxing nodded his head and said. He told Lu Xinji to go and say farewell to the family and friends. Congratulations, brother Xinji. Congratulations to the 7th brother for breaking through to the middle stage of qi refinement. The other children in the courtyard, upon hearing that Lu Xinji had broken through to the middle stage of qi refinement and that Lu Chongxing was going to take him to the Red Leaf Valley Market, expressed their envy and congratulations. Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaohuan and Chu Zhenzhen, the aunties, also heard the news and each gave gifts to encourage him. After all, being the first child in the family to break through to the middle stage of qi refinement had its special significance and was worth celebrating. Under these circumstances, Lu Xinji seemed to take on a bit more responsibility. Although he was the 7th in the family, those ranked ahead of him like Lu Pingon, due to the lack of a spiritual root, had all been sent into the secular world. Therefore in Qingzhou Mountain he was effectively the eldest, bearing the responsibilities of an older brother. After a small celebration, the next day, Lu Chongxing rode atop an iron feather eagle, taking his son Lu Xinji with him to the Red Leaf Valley Market. First he took Lu Xinji to the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop to meet Lu Miaoga. Although he planned to have Lu Xinji stay at the Peace Talisman Hall, he had to bring him over to meet with her since he was here. With him often absent, Lu Xinji could come to Lu Miaoga if he had any issues. In the Red Leaf Valley Market, Lu Miaoga was quite an influential figure. Xinji, feel free to come by your auntie's place when you have the time. Lu Miaoga said with a gentle and amiable expression. She was much more well-off than the other wives and concubines of Lu Chongxing and gave Lu Xinji a magic artifact as a gift. Many thanks, auntie. Lu Xinji seldom met with this auntie Lu Miaoga, and did not feel very close to her, slightly restrained. After accepting the gift, he bowed respectfully. After a brief chat, Lu Chongxing took Lu Xinji to visit the Peace Talisman Hall. Peace Talisman Hall. Dad, is this our family's shop? Lu Xinji looked at the shop in front of him and asked aloud. He knew that besides owning 100 mu of spiritual land on Qingzhou Mountain, his father also owned a spirit talisman shop and a mansion in the Red Leaf Valley Market. The reason why he and his siblings had such comfortable conditions was due to this spiritual land and the shop and mansion. That's right, this is our family's spirit talisman shop. Lu Chongxing nodded and said, I didn't bring you here to learn talisman making. Instead, I want you to broaden your horizons and understand the ins and outs of managing a shop, doing business. Aren't you interested in puppets? Now that you've broken through to the middle stage of qi refinement, you can spend some time on this. If there's anything you don't understand, come and ask your father. Once you become a puppet master, your father will open a shop for you. Lu Chongxing spoke to his son. His son might not have a talent for talisman making, but he did have some for puppets. Since he had just begun cultivation, Lu Chongxing hadn't wanted him to be distracted by puppets. Now that he had broken through to the middle stage of qi refinement, Lu Chongxing was willing to let him spend some time on it. After all, the art of puppets was also an important part of his future that needed to be passed on. Yes, father. Upon hearing this, Lu Xinji looked at the words, Peace Talisman Hall, and pursed his lips, showing determination in his eyes. Shopkeeper. Shopkeeper. As the two entered the shop, the greeters and shopkeeper Gao, he immediately greeted them resoundingly. Xinji, this is your Uncle Gao. Lu Chongxing introduced to Lu Xinji. Uncle Gao. Lu Xinji promptly called out. On the way over, Lu Chongxing had briefly explained the situation of the spiritual talisman shop. He knew that this man with a round face and slightly aged appearance was the shopkeeper of the Spirit Talisman shop. "Old Gao, this is my son Lu Xianji. I plan to place him in the shop as an apprentice, to gain some experience and understand how the shop is managed. You want me to teach him about making talismans, but it'll trouble you to instruct him in other aspects." Lu Chongxing spoke to his old friend Gao He. The two had known each other for more than 10 years and had been employer and employee for 6 years. Since Lu Chongxing had always been an absent shop owner, and Gao He managed the shop well, their personal relationship remained quite good. "Sure, no problem." Gao He, upon hearing that this was the young shop owner, immediately smiled and agreed. This practice of placing family children in the shop to learn was quite common. As long as Lu Xianji wasn't a spoiled brat, he naturally wouldn't have any objections. Moreover, having been a shopkeeper for so many years, he had a good eye and could tell that Lu Xianji didn't seem to be a troublesome person. After Lu Xianji was settled in, Lu Chongxing left for his mansion to check on Xiaoxia's condition. After all, according to the timeline, Xiaoxia was due to give birth this month. The thought of Xiaoxia's child being soon born inevitably filled Lu Chongxing with anticipation. However, after waiting for a month, the child in Xiaoxia's womb did not arrive as expected. Lu Chongxing was not worried about this situation. Instead, he showed a look of delight. Because children who are born later than expected are either problematic or naturally extraordinary with potentially excellent spiritual root quality. Chapter 407. Save and Earn 99 Mysterious Talisman Scriptures. _4. He and Xiaoxia were both foundation establishment cultivators and naturally were able to sense the general condition of the child. There were no issues with vitality. Therefore, there was a high probability that the child possessed a fairly good spiritual root or even a spiritual body. Thus, Lu Chongxing awaited the birth of the child with a calm heart and anticipation. Before the child was born, 7 days later, a faint flow of energy, accompanied by a system notification, sounded. "Congratulations to the host. 5 offspring have completed the absorption of qi into their bodies, stepping onto the path of cultivation, and received the bloodline effect. A 5% increase in the probability of the offspring's spiritual roots and 1 lottery draw. 5 person has completed the absorption of qi into her body." Through this flow of energy and the system notification, Lu Chongxing knew that his 5th child with a spiritual root, Lu Kursan, had completed the absorption of qi into her body. He wasn't surprised by this. After all, according to the timing, Lu Kursan should have completed it by now. Now that it was done, it was even slower than those like Lu Xianji and the others before her. It was just slightly surprising that an achievement lottery was triggered with just 5 children. He had thought it would take 10. But this increase is quite good. At this rate, won't all my future descendants basically have a spiritual root? Lu Chongxing, seeing the increase in the probability of his offspring's spiritual roots, nodded slightly with joy. After all, his children were his foundation. System, draw the lottery. Lu Chongxing exhaled lightly and began the lottery draw. A pale red virtual lottery wheel appeared and quickly started spinning. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the cultivation technique, 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture. The reward has been issued to the system space, where the host can check it at any time. An image of a translucent jade scroll appeared, accompanied by the system notification. 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture? A talisman inheritance? Lu Chongxing, seeing this cultivation technique, raised an eyebrow slightly, showing a trace of interest. The cultivation world possessed 100 arts of cultivation. Each art was profoundly complex and could evolve into a path. Although he had a second-rank full-level talisman-making skill, it was merely an array of basic talisman skills. He did not possess any profoundly mysterious talisman inheritance. Or rather, such profound skill inheritance was not only rare but also required a high threshold for cultivation. Besides certain demands on the spiritual root, there were other requirements as well. For example, Spirit Taming Sect, one of the 3 great immortal sects of Jiang country, and as famous as Qingyun sect, the sect was renowned for beast taming. However, such sects not only looked at the talent of one's spiritual root but also at the compatibility between an individual and spiritual beasts. In the Immortal sect's assessments, even if you had a lower-grade spiritual root but you naturally resonated and were compatible with certain spiritual beasts, they would still admit you into the sect. I remember that there are no sects with talisman inheritance in Jiang country. On the other hand, in Yu country next door, there is a sect known as Beast Talisman Sect. Famous for Talisman Path, their sect-protecting cultivation technique, Beast Talisman Scripture, can integrate demon beasts and talismans together, creating an extremely formidable power. Lu Chongqing thought to himself. The southern wilderness cultivation realm was vast, and Jiang country was but a corner of it. Through various epistles and travel notes, Lu Chongqing knew that Jiang country was only considered a mid-sized nation, and there were many more nations outside. Each country would have different inheritances and sects. Although Jiang country had the beast-taming sect because of the country's overlord-level sect, the Heavenly Sword sect, when other countries' cultivation realms talked about Jiang country's cultivation realm, the first thing they thought of were sword cultivators. Lu Chongqing did not dwell on it further, turning his attention to the system space to check the details of the cultivation technique he had just drawn. Cultivation Technique 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture. Grade: Orthodox Level. Description: The mysterious talisman sect-protecting technique, containing 99 unique spiritual patterns. Reflect on talismans for mental cultivation. With accomplished practice, one can draw talismans in the void, refine talismans into formation and sacrificing talisman soldiers. Its methods are profound and its power is boundless. This 99 mystical talisman scripture really lives up to being an orthodox level cultivation technique. It's so comprehensive. Lu Chongqing, looking at the description of 99 mystical talisman scripture in front of him, was pleasantly surprised. System: Transmit the inheritance. His mental spirit stirred immediately, and he used the 99 mystical talisman scripture. Instantly, the method for cultivating the 99 mystical talisman scripture and related content, all the essential pointers, poured into Lu Chongqing's mind like enlightenment. Lu Chongqing stood still, immersing his mental spirit in comprehending this orthodox-level talisman inheritance technique. Chapter 408. The Second Spiritual Body Child. _1. True to a talisman inheritance technique, this 99 mystical talisman scripture is indeed complex and profound. Lu Chongqing opened his eyes and exhaled lightly. Just now, through the system inheritance and a thorough infusion of knowledge, he had fully comprehended the 99 mystical talisman scripture. As for the cultivation methods and related content within it, he knew all key points by heart, mastering them perfectly. Yet even so, he couldn't help but marvel at the complexity and mysteries of this 99 mystical talisman scripture. The core of the technique lies in the 81 special spiritual patterns within the scripture. Each of these 81 patterns could evolve into hundreds or thousands of intricate runes. Combining and arranging these spiritual patterns and derived runes, one could create 129,600 types of spirit talismans. This number was astounding. To know, as a fully leveled second-ranked talisman master, Lu Chongqing's total number of mastered talismans barely surpassed 1,000. As for Lu Miaoge, currently a top-level first-grade talisman master, the number of talismans she mastered didn't even reach 100. Because human energy is limited. Each talisman requires time to practice and master. Even second- or third-ranked talisman masters, who could easily draw first-ranked talismans, still needed to invest time and energy. And yet, the 81 spiritual patterns in this 99 mystical talisman scripture encompass 129,600 spirit talismans. That's why these 81 spiritual patterns are each incredibly profound and difficult to comprehend. Therefore, to fully understand and accurately depict all 81 patterns is exceedingly difficult, too difficult. Enough to consume the lifetimes of many core formation nascent soul, and even divinity transformation cultivators. Beyond these 81 spiritual patterns, this scripture also involves formations. Talisman formations. Talisman refinement formation. Ordinary cultivators and even talisman masters employ talismans in relatively simple ways. Just like casting techniques, they activate and use the talismans. Even if they have a vast amount of talismans, they just use them in a simple barrage. This method not only wastes talismans, but its power and effectiveness are also mediocre. Sometimes, because of too many and too messy talismans, activating too many at once can be difficult to control, leading to mana flux and self-harm. However, the talisman formation within the 99 mystical talisman scripture perfectly solves this drawback. It links talismans together in harmonious compatibility. not only reducing the demands for divine sense control but also allowing dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of talismans to activate simultaneously, with their power stacking up to form a talisman formation. Though it cannot be maintained for long, it's faster and simpler than a formation tool. The moment thousands of talismans scatter down, the formation takes shape instantly with astounding power. Phew, this 99 mystical talisman scripture is excessively complex. Only someone with extraordinary talent and genius in the talisman path can cultivate it, Lu Chongqing murmured as he exhaled deeply. Otherwise, even if one cultivates the power of this scripture, if they cannot fully comprehend the spiritual patterns, they won't be able to showcase the true might of these techniques. Lu Chongqing took another deep breath and released it gently. He clearly recognized that the difficulty of this scripture was not in the cultivation of the technique, but in the understanding and the delineation of the 81 spiritual patterns. Only by grasping the core spiritual patterns of this technique could he maximize the myriad methods contained within the scripture, such as the life-bound divine talisman, void drawing of talismans, talisman refinement formation, and sacrificial refinement of talisman soldiers. Otherwise, even with access to the scripture, if one couldn't comprehend the spiritual patterns, they would only have slightly denser mana than ordinary cultivators, unable to unleash the true capabilities of this scripture. Perhaps it is due to the challenging nature of this technique that there are few sects specializing in it. For cultivators, even though they cultivate divine skills and techniques, in the end, the cultivation realm is the foundation. If too much effort is spent on other aspects, it will inevitably delay one's cultivation, he pondered. However, if I were to fully comprehend and grasp the entire 99 mystical talisman scripture, once the talisman formation is formed, its lethality would be even more fierce and domineering than the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture I'm currently cultivating. Lu Chongqing thought silently to himself. Through the transmission of the technique, he knew clearly the most powerful aspect of the 99 mystical talisman scripture, making it plaything-like to overcome enemies above one's rank with hundreds or thousands of talismans formed into a talisman formation. With proper preparations and enough talismans, even those at the foundation establishment stage could have a chance to subdue core formation cultivators. Of course, as powerful as it truly was exorbitantly expensive. After all, such a talisman formation needed to be built with actual talismans. It couldn't be said that the talisman formation could also be formed with void drawing of talismans. The so-called void drawing of talismans was just a supplementary technique to this cultivation practice, allowing one to condense talismans to combat enemies without relying on talisman materials, simply consuming mana. Although I want switch to cultivating this 99 mystical talisman scripture and won't be able to condense a life-bound divine talisman, relying on the 81 spiritual patterns and the 129,600 derived talismans, along with void drawing of talismans and talisman refinement formation techniques, I can display about 70% of this scripture's potency, Lu Chongqing declared before admitting. However, the effectiveness is still several degrees less than cultivating the scripture itself. He spoke softly to himself. Although the scripture was formidable, he had no intention of switching his cultivation practice. After all, the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture he was currently cultivating was no less remarkable than the 99 mystical talisman scripture. The 7 luminaries' heart lamp within the sword scripture was an excellent tool for cultivation. Without it, his cultivation speed would perhaps be half as slow. Moreover, mastering these 81 spiritual patterns and numerous techniques from this scripture were already enough for him. There was no need to insist on obtaining a life-bound divine talisman or several other methods. Setting everything else aside, with the 129,600 talismans from this 99 mystical talisman scripture, I can dominate a market niche with these exclusive spirit talismans, attractive to countless people, he considered. Chapter 409. The Second Spiritual Body Child. Lu Chongqing chuckled softly. Most of the talismans in the market were common ones. Only a small number of people and powers held a few exclusive talismans and talisman inheritances. And how many of these powerful exclusive talismans existed in the 99 mystical talisman scripture was anybody's guess. From Lu Changsheng's perspective, in the future his family could completely rely on these various talismans to establish a foothold and occupy a segment of the market in the cultivation world. Although I don't cultivate the 99 mystical talisman scripture, besides the 129,600 talismans, it also contains methods for crafting several talisman instruments. Among them there is one talisman instrument, the 99 Mysterious True Strategy, which assists in talisman refinement formation. It is very suitable for me. I could try to craft a simplified imitation. As for talisman warriors, according to the cultivation technique, crafting talisman warriors consumes a lot of time and energy, as well as cultivation level to nurture them. Currently, my cultivation level only allows me to craft ordinary force talisman warriors. Such talisman warriors can only do rough work and are not capable of fighting against others. To me, they are a waste of time and energy. Only when my cultivation level is higher and I have time and am willing to invest effort in crafting advanced level talisman warriors, will they have some combat effectiveness. However, within this scripture, there is a rather good talisman nurturing method. It involves drawing spirit talismans with excellent talisman materials and then spending time continuously nurturing the talismans, enabling a first-grade talisman to exhibit the power of a second-rank talisman, and a second-rank talisman to exhibit the power of a third-rank talisman. Currently, I can only draw second-rank supreme talismans, but with this talisman nurturing method, I can nurture several third-rank talismans for self-defense. That way, if I encounter a nascent soul immortal, I will also have some ability to protect myself. Lu Chongqing pondered silently to himself, considering what aspects of the 99 mystical talisman scripture could be beneficial to him at the moment. Apart from mastering many powerful talismans, he could also craft a formation path talisman instrument. After all, talisman refinement formation can be considered the essence of this cultivation technique. It would allow him to elevate his combat capabilities by a level. And with the talisman nurturing method from the 99 mystical talisman scripture, he could nurture a few life-saving talismans. In this way, even if he encountered nascent soul immortals or false core immortals, he would have some means of self-protection. But to craft a simplified version of the 99 Mysterious True Strategy, I need to use rare materials like black obsidian essence iron and the iron of the 5 metals. Several of these materials are third-rank heavenly treasures, and it is clearly impossible to gather them all in the Red Leaf Valley market. Also, to nurture third-rank treasure talismans, I must use third-rank materials to draw the talismans. Lu Chongqing furrowed his brows slightly. After all, the Red Leaf Valley market was just a newly established marketplace. Even among medium-sized markets, it was considered relatively inferior at the bottom of the scale. Thus, purchasing third-rank materials in the market was very difficult. Unless one had fortuitous luck, otherwise acquiring such materials was nearly impossible. After Shi Yu and the Lu family affairs are dealt with, I'll first go to the Qingyun Commerce Guild in the Nine Dragons Market to see. If the Nine Dragons Market doesn't have them, I could take a trip to Jiuxiao Immortal City and just happen to pick up the rewards for the 2 robbers I hunted. Lu Chongqing mused softly in his heart. In his view, it was worth making a trip out to craft a talisman instrument and nurture treasure talismans. With his current strength comparable to the late stage of Foundation establishment, heading to the Immortal City wouldn't be dangerous as long as he didn't run into any nascent soul immortals. Later I'll craft some sets of talismans that can form a talisman formation. That way, encountering late Foundation establishment or even false core robber cultivators shouldn't be a big deal. Lu Chongqing thought to himself in secret. Now, with his divine sense comparable to the late stage of Foundation establishment and the profound origin bead at his side, he could easily deploy some talisman formations as long as he had enough talismans. If he formed a talisman formation with 100 second-rank talismans, he was confident he could suppress a cultivator at the late stage of Foundation establishment. As for false core immortals, Lu Chongqing had never encountered one, so he was unsure of their strength. But based on the power of a talisman formation composed of 100 second-rank talismans, even if he couldn't kill the opponent, he could at least cause them severe damage. Since Xianxia could give birth at any moment, Lu Chongqing, aside from occasionally visiting the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop and peace talisman hall, spent most of his time accompanying Xianxia, waiting for the child to be born. 1 month later, inside the cultivation cave, Lu Chongqing held Xianxia's delicate, boneless palm tightly. Wah! A clear cry of a baby echoed. At the same time, a profound and intense fluctuation burst forth, accompanied by a system notification sound. Congratulations on the birth of your second child with a spiritual body, you have won a lottery chance. What, a spiritual body? Even though Lu Chongqing had previously guessed that this child would have good talent, he was startled when he heard this system notification. He hadn't expected Xiaoxia's child to actually have a spiritual body. And moreover, to receive a system reward after giving birth to a spiritual body child for the second time. But considering the rarity of a spiritual body, Lu Chongqing also felt somewhat relieved. He didn't dwell on it and quickly regained his composure, turning his attention back to Xiaoxia. He used a gentle breeze and dewdrop talisman on Xiaoxia to adjust her body and replenish her damaged vital energy. Shiyu, I've made you go through so much. Lu Chongqing held the child with one hand and performed a cleansing technique before embracing his beloved wife. I have finally borne a child for Lu Lang. Xiaoxia nestled in her lover's embrace, her slightly pale and weak face glowing with a radiant maternal smile. During her pregnancy, she had been looking forward to the child's birth, wondering whether it would be a boy or a girl, and whether the child would have a spiritual root talent. True, she had prepared a secret art technique during her time in Qingyun sect, and had nurtured the child with her moonlight spirit body, significantly increasing the chances of the child having a spiritual root with good talent. But there was no way to be absolutely certain. Chapter 410. The Second Spiritual Body Child. Lu Lang, look at this child, she's actually not crying, she's looking at me and smiling. Xiaoxia said to Lu Chongqing, holding the baby in his arms in a soft voice. This child was a girl. Her skin was like jade, fair with a rosy undertone, and two large eyes, clear-cut in black and white, were looking at Lu Chongqing and Xiaoxia. Yes, this child, Shiyu, you carried her for 11 months before giving birth, she is surely extraordinary. Look at these eyes, this nose so much like yours. Lu Chongqing looked at the child and laughed. Thanks to the improvements from the Immortal beauty technique in Peach Blossom Goo, Lu Chongqing had extraordinarily handsome features, which meant his children were all either strikingly handsome or beautiful. There were no ugly children. Lu Lang, you're always so flattering, she's so little, how can you even tell? Xiaoxia looked at the child's facial features, also very happy, revealing a blissful smile. Then she asked, Lu Lang, have you thought of a good name for this child? I have of course thought of one, Lu Chongqing replied immediately upon hearing this. Since it's a girl, I hope she can be like you, Shiyu, akin to the Guanghan fairy of the 9 heavens bright moon. So, as for the name, how about Wangshu? What do you think? Lu Chongqing smiled and said aloud. Wangshu, in ancient mythology, is the deity who drives the moon's chariot and is also a poetic reference to the moon itself. He now enjoyed picking names with meanings related to his wife's name. Wangshu, Lu Wangshu, Xiaoxia repeated the child's name, a smile appearing on her somewhat pale and weak face. She obviously also heard the meaning in the name. If Shiyu has thought of any good names, that's fine too, Lu Chongqing continued. Having picked hundreds of names, he wasn't particularly concerned about the names of his children. Any name his wife fancied would be fine. Shiyu is very satisfied with this name, Xiaoxia said with a gentle smile. Then the two of them held their child, whispering sweet nothings to each other, filled with endearment and affection. Meanwhile, Qingyun sect. Atop the luxurious palace on Kaiyun Peak, a breathtakingly beautiful woman stood quietly at the balustrade, gazing into the distance. Her beauty was difficult to describe with mere words like nation-toppling. Tall and slender, her graceful figure was dressed in a gown that resembled flowing rosy clouds. Her long, luscious black hair was elegantly styled in a bun, fastened with a phoenix-shaped hairpin, conveying her nobility and grace beyond compare. Even standing still, she emitted a presence that made others feel unworthy and dared not to defile her majestic beauty. More than 3 years have passed and I wonder how Shiyu is doing. Yun Wanshang gazed into the distance, a surge of emotions suddenly filling her heart, prompting thoughts of her disciple Xiaoxia who had left the mountain. When Xiaoxia had left the mountain, she told her that this period of trials could last a short 3 years or as long as 5 years. Now that 3 years had passed, an unexpected rush of emotions made her think of Xiaoxia's circumstances. Although Xiaoxia's trials were not supposed to be very dangerous, Yun Wanshang still couldn't help but worry. In her spare time she pondered the supreme forgetful love technique. With the insights Xiaoxia had previously provided, Yun Wanshang had different realizations upon reflection, gaining a deeper understanding of the profound mysteries of this cultivation technique. She understood that the supreme forgetful love technique's process from attachment to detachment made it easier to become deeply ensnared with each advancement in cultivation. One careless step and one might never be able to extricate oneself. After all, everyone has their emotions and desires. Even those with firm Tao hearts find it difficult to contend with the complexities of emotions. Master. Just then, a woman in a white palace gown approached the pavilion and bowed to Yun Wanshang. This woman appeared to be around 25 or 26 years old. She had a striking, well-defined face, with sharp, narrow eyes that combined feminine softness with a hint of brisk coldness. Her nose was shapely and her lips tender, naturally rosy without the need for rouge. Her long black hair was simply tied back in a ponytail, and she carried an azure, wavering spiritual sword on her back. She exuded a cool, aloof aura like a peerless sword fairy. "Qingyi, you're back. Is there any progress?" Yun Wanshang asked as she turned to look at the woman. This disciple was Chu Qingyi, her eldest one, who had been sent out on a mission. "Master, according to my investigation, there are indeed issues with the Xiahou family. They show signs of practicing demonic techniques," Chu Qingyi reported, her voice crisp and cold. "Have you been able to determine which demonic technique these traces originate from? Could it be the work of a spy from another nation?" Yun Wanshang asked, not surprised by the news. "I haven't discovered relevant information yet, but through certain clues, it seems the Xiahou family's demonic techniques are related to the practice of refining corpses," Chu Qingyi stated. Refining corpses. Upon hearing this, Yun Wanshang's starry, brilliant eyes showed a trace of coldness. Chapter 411. Blood Talisman's Spiritual Body, Second Rank Alchemy. _1. System. After accompanying Xianxia for a good while, and waiting until her face showed tranquility and her breathing evened out as she gradually fell asleep, Lu Chongqing silently invoked in his heart. Instantly the system panel surfaced before his eyes. Name: Lu Chongqing. Identity: son-in-law of the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain. Cultivation level: Foundation Establishment 2nd level. Lifespan: 36/269. Talent: 4th grade Spiritual Root. Gingjin Body Constitution Moderate Spiritual Body. Blood Talisman Spiritual Body, Upper Grade Spiritual Body. Cultivation Technique: 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art. 7 Luminaries Great Freedom Sword Scripture. Yin-Yang Harmony Technique. 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture, Immortal. Beauty Technique. Spell: 7 Luminaries Sword Glow, 7 Luminaries Sword Shield, 7 Luminaries Sword Escape. Items: 9 Treasure Jade Rui Luminous Treasure Tree Golden Armor Bean Mother, Black Dragon Magical Bead, Book of Malevolent Curses and Fates, Life Substituting Talisman, Profound Origin Bead, Coagulation Crystal Elixir. Skills: Talisman Making 2nd Rank. Puppet, 2nd Rank. Spirit Slaughterer 2nd Rank. Spiritual Pets: 9 Netherhound Peach Blossom Goo 6. Winged Golden Silkworm Hope Goo. Offspring: 143 of 146. Blood Talisman Spiritual Body? What kind of spiritual body is this? And this spiritual body, why haven't I noticed any changes to my body? Lu Chongqing, seeing the new addition related to constitution on his attribute panel, felt astonished. He immediately closed his eyes and explored his body with his divine sense. He wanted to inspect the condition of this blood talisman's spiritual body. Although spiritual bodies require the children to grow up before fully taking shape, he should not be completely unaware of it. After a long examination, Lu Chongqing's divine sense finally made a discovery. Within his own dantian he found strands of faint blood-colored light patterns. These blood patterns, composed of wisps and strands, were ephemeral, forming a mysterious rhythm. They seemed like a series of profound and unknown seal scripts. This blood talisman spiritual body must be a recessive spiritual body that requires some kind of opportunity to awaken. These blood patterns are likely the spiritual patterns formed by the rules of heaven and earth of the blood talisman's spiritual body. After checking his own condition, Lu Chongqing had some guesses about this blood talisman's spiritual body. In the cultivation world there are many types of spiritual bodies. Regardless of the number, these spiritual bodies can be classified as either overt or recessive spiritual bodies. Overt spiritual bodies are like Lu Qingshan's Gingjin body constitution. They can be directly detected. As soon as one begins cultivation, they naturally exhibit their might. Recessive spiritual bodies, however, remain hidden and are hard for people to discern. One might need to reach a certain age or go through certain methods to awaken the spiritual body and exhibit its might. Just like his friend Zhou Xian. She possessed a vague body constitution. But initially her spiritual body hadn't awakened, nor had it been detected. It was later, while managing the herb garden, that an external elder from the Qingyun sect noticed her situation and awakened her spiritual body. No wonder I didn't feel any change. I'll need to look up information about this blood talisman's spiritual body later. See what methods can be used to awaken the spiritual body. Lu Chongqing murmured to himself, planning to check the information about this spiritual body later. This blood talisman spiritual body, being an upper-grade spiritual body, is a level higher than Qingshan's Gingjin body constitution, and is clearly not simple. And by the name it should be related to the talisman path, some kind of talisman path spiritual body. A talisman path spiritual body, like a sword cultivator's supreme sword bone or a poison cultivator's calamitous poison body, is naturally suited for the talismanic great Tao, with inherent extraordinary talent for talismans. If that's the case, then the 99 mystical talisman scripture I obtained earlier might be greatly developed in the hands of this child. Lu Chongqing thought to himself. Looking at the pink and tender, sweet and lovely infant in his arms, a surge of affection and joy involuntarily rose from the bottom of his heart. Based on the recent pulse sensation of the spiritual root, this child should have a 4th-grade spiritual root. Lu Chongqing then reflected on this child's spiritual root. With a slight stirring of his mental spirit, he brought up his daughter's system panel. Name, Lu Wangshu. Lifespan, 182nd. Talent, 4th-grade spiritual root, blood talisman spiritual body, upper-grade spiritual body. Cultivation level, none. There it is, a 4th-grade spiritual root. A 4th-grade spiritual root with an upper-grade spiritual body. This child will become one of the pillars of the Lu family. A smile emerged on Lu Changsheng's face. His heart was filled with anticipation for the child's future. Lu Qingshan with a 6th-grade spiritual root, possessing the Gingjin body constitution. Lu Qingxian with a 4th-grade spiritual root. Lu Wangshu with a 4th-grade spiritual root, and the blood talisman spiritual body. My Lu family has indeed gained a few pillar seeds for the future. Lu Chongqing rejoiced inwardly. He had 146 children. The first batch of these children were already stepping into adulthood one after another. They were about to start their own families and businesses, providing fresh blood to stabilize the Lu family. Among the 146, 36 possessed spiritual roots. These younger children were the foundation for establishing a future cultivation family. And among these 36, 3 were geniuses, destined to become the future pillars of the family. The days ahead are becoming more and more promising. Lu Chongqing took a deep breath and exhaled gently. His mind involuntarily started to plan for the future. Now the issues are the spiritual land, the family's great formation, and the initial capital. Lu Chongqing had a clear vision for the future. Establishing his own cultivation family, but currently there were 3 problems in establishing the family. For the spiritual land, he planned to obtain it through the channel of Xianxia and Qingyun sect, or through the Lu family's bid for Red Leaf Valley. For the family's great formation, I can only wait for the system to act. In the coming time, the surge of children should trigger many achievement rewards. If it really doesn't work out, I can ask Xiyu to invite a formation master from Qingyun sect when the time comes. As for the family's initial capital, I should be able to accumulate it through the 2nd-rank talismans. Chapter 4:12. Blood Talisman Spiritual Body 2nd-rank Alchemy. When these children are about big enough, these 3 aspects should also be about ready, Lu Chongqing thought to himself. System, draw a prize. Without further thought, Lu Chongqing silently invoked again in his mind. He intended to use the lotteries he had just won. The prize wheel emerged, shining with golden light, spinning rapidly. Under Lu Changsheng's calm gaze, the golden light eventually stopped on skills. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining 2nd-rank alchemy skills. The reward has been issued to the system space, and the host may check it at any time. A light orb in the shape of an elixir emerged from the prize wheel, accompanied by the system's voice. Alchemy. Second rank alchemy. Lu Chongqing saw the reward for his lottery draw and felt a surge of joy. Among the 100 arts of cultivation, what he most wanted at the moment was formation. After that, it was alchemy. These two crafts are not only among the mainstream 4 arts in the cultivation world and upper-class professions, but also very useful to him at the moment. As for formation, there's no need to say more. It concerns the great formation of his future family and the placement of the family's formations. Otherwise, buying array plates and hiring other array masters to arrange great formations, he really couldn't be at ease. From the previously seen Heaven and Qinyun Water Great Formation in Red Leaf Valley Market, one could see that the level of such a second-rank great formation was very ordinary. Using such formation for his own family, Lu Chongqing really couldn't be at ease. Besides, mastering formations and arranging great formations by himself, in times of danger, activating the great formation and presiding over it could maximize the power of the formation. It's incomparable to presiding over a great formation arranged by others, through array plates or array tools. As for alchemy, after his breakthrough in foundation establishment, purchasing second-rank elixir medicines became very difficult. Normally he could only take energy refining elixirs to aid his cultivation. Now that he had mastered second-rank alchemy skills, he no longer had to worry about elixirs. With second-rank alchemy, not only can I solve my current need for elixirs. In the future I might even be able to refine foundation-building elixirs. Lu Chongqing rejoiced in his heart. Then he looked toward the light orb in the system space. Second-rank alchemy skills. Upon use, one can directly comprehend second-rank full-level alchemy skills and the corresponding complete compendium of elixir formulas. Wait, are all the skills second rank? Are there no third ranks? Lu Chongqing pondered as he looked at the alchemy skills before him. Including this alchemy skills, he had drawn 4 sets of skills from the system. All of these skills were second rank. It made Lu Chongqing curious whether he could draw third rank skills. Without much further thought, he used the second rank alchemy skills from the system space. Suddenly, a flood of knowledge and information poured into his mind from nowhere. Introduction to Alchemy, Basic Alchemy Compendium, First Rank Alchemy Compendium, Second Rank Alchemy Compendium, How Elixir Medicines Are Made, 10 Years of Qi Refinement, 100 Years of Alchemy. After a while, a deluge of knowledge about alchemy flowed into Lu Chongqing's mind. It gave him an understanding of various elixirs, pharmacology, alchemy techniques, temperature control, and so on. Phew, alchemy really is worthy of being one of the mainstream 4 arts of cultivation. From distinguishing the pharmacology of various spiritual medicines, the kings and ministers in each elixir, flame control, different alchemy techniques, spells, amalgamating elixirs and finalizing them. Lu Chongqing digested the knowledge about alchemy skills in his mind. He felt that the skill was indeed extremely complicated. However, it seems that making high-level second-rank elixirs isn't as simple as I had imagined. After digesting the knowledge, Lu Chongqing furrowed his brows slightly. Now that he had a detailed understanding of alchemy, he knew that ordinary elixirs were very simple to make. 1 pill furnace, 1 fire control formation, or alternatively natural mana solidifying into flame would suffice. But to make certain advanced elixirs, ordinary fire wouldn't do. You would need innate true fire, heavenly spiritual fire, or earth core fire. If I want to make advanced level elixirs, I still need to cultivate a spell or divine skill for condensing innate true fire. Thinking of practicing spells gave Lu Chongqing a headache. Because his initial practice of soul dispersion needle made him aware that his aptitude for techniques was very average. Just like the soul dispersion needle, this divine sense attack secret technique, he pondered and attempted it whenever he was free. In the end, it took him over a year to master it. And only then was he able to condense 3 soul-scattering needles in his divine sense, capable of conducting 3 divine sense attacks on others. Now the thought of having to practice spells made his head ache. Never mind, this is not urgent. The flame solidified by the mana of a foundation establishment cultivator is enough for me to refine most elixirs. When I truly need innate true fire to refine advanced level elixirs, maybe I'll draw some kind of heavenly spiritual fire, or have the conditions to build my own alchemy chamber. Lu Chongqing exhaled lightly and didn't dwell too much on the innate true fire. After a cultivator breaks through to foundation establishment, The spiritual fire that condenses with one's own mana could satisfy most needs for alchemy and artifact refining. After Lu Wangshu was born, Lu Chongxing had originally planned to rent a courtyard and hire a wet nurse to care for the child. But Xianxia said she had been out for more than 3 years, and planned to return to Qingyun's sect in another half a year. So in this half year she wanted to spend more time with the child and was against hiring a wet nurse. Facing this situation, of course, Lu Chongxing had little to say and he went along with her. But he rented another courtyard anyway. After all, a cave dwelling of about 100 square feet was a bit too small and suffocating for an infant. Shiyu, there's something I need to deal with regarding the Lu family. After spending most of a month with Xiaoxia, Lu Chongxing spoke up. He discussed the matter of the second-grade Talisman Masters Convention. Chapter 413. Blood Talisman's Spiritual Body, Second Rank Alchemy. He indicated that he would probably be busy for a while. No worries, Lu Lang, go ahead, important matters come first. Xiaoxia didn't throw a fit. She knew that, over the past few years, Lu Chongxing had already spent a lot of time on her. The second-grade Talisman Master ceremony was related to presenting Lu Changsheng's skills to the outside world. And that certainly counted as important business. Okay, I'll come back as soon as I'm done, Lu Chongxing nodded. Then he visited Lu Miaoge and his son Lu Xianji before returning to Qingzhou Mountain. Back home, Lu Chongxing chatted briefly with his wives and children, had a meal, and then headed out to discuss the details of the ceremony with Lu Miaocheng. He also planned to ask for more materials for second-rank talisman making, to be used in assembling a talisman formation. Dad, I have to tell you, I found a treasure. At that moment his son Lu Qingshan came trotting over to Lu Changsheng's side, speaking mysteriously. A treasure? What kind of treasure? Lu Chongxing, seeing how secretive his son was acting, arched an eyebrow and asked with a smile. Hee, let me show you. Lu Qingshan grinned, pulling out a golden bean the size of a chicken egg from inside his clothes. This golden bean even had a tiny sprout growing from it. The sprout was green and tender with a few jade-like leaves on it. How did you dig up the golden bean from my yard? Lu Chongxing stared at the bean in his son's hand, taken aback, and spoke out. This golden bean was, in fact, the golden armor bean mother he had planted in his own yard. Dad, you planted this treasure? When Lu Qingshan heard this, he also froze and with a guilty conscience stammered out his response. He had thought the golden bean was a chance treasure he had found. He never expected it to be something his own father had planted. What else? If you're going to find treasures, you should go out and look for them, not dig up treasures from your own yard, Lu Chongxing said irritably, giving his son's head a tap. The golden armor bean mother was just fine growing in his yard, and here his son had dug it up thinking it was a treasure. It was both exasperating and amusing. How did you find this bean? Lu Chongxing asked. Nobody other than Lu Miaoyun, Chu Zhenzhen, and a few others would go into the yard. The kids usually didn't play there either. Plus, this golden armor bean mother was planted in a corner of the yard, concealed by spiritual earth. I asked Xiaojin to find treasures and then he found this golden bean. When I saw this golden bean, I felt an inexplicable closeness to it. I thought it was the destined treasure you read about in books. Lu Qingshan held his head with both hands, looking somewhat aggrieved. He was saddened that the opportunity he thought he had was now gone. He had been so elated earlier today. Now that elation was for nothing. Xiaojin. Lu Chongxing naturally knew that Xiaojin was the earth spirit mouse he had given to Lu Qingzhu. Lu Qingzhu, keeping this earth spirit mouse, usually just played and cuddled with it. And since Lu Qingshan heard that this creature could find treasures, he probably got it to search for treasures, resulting in a search that led to his own yard. After figuring out what had happened, Lu Chongxing was somewhat speechless. But hearing that Lu Qingshan felt close to the bean, he couldn't help but ask, Qingshan, you said you felt close to this golden bean? Yeah, so when I first saw this golden bean I felt inexplicably drawn to it. I thought my lucky break had come, Lu Qingshan replied listlessly. Close to it. Could it be because of the Gingjin body constitution? Lu Chongxing pondered upon hearing this. The golden armor bean mother could transform into a golden armor warrior. This golden armor warrior was of the metal element, so it made sense for it to attract someone with a Gingjin body constitution. He held the golden armor bean mother in his hand, focusing on it intently. Indeed, he could faintly sense a closeness. But since he had won the golden armor bean mother from the system, it was already connected to him. So he hadn't noticed the subtle attraction caused by the Gingjin body constitution. This golden bean was planted by Dad in our yard. After planting, it can blossom and bear spiritual beans. Look, this is the bean's sprout and these are the bean's leaves. In a few more years the bean will flower and bear fruit. After the beans bear fruit, Dad will give you one, Lu Chongqing said aloud. He didn't blame his son. Dad, how many little beans can this golden bean produce at one time? Lu Qingshan immediately perked up upon hearing this and asked curiously. It can produce 5 to 10, but the actual number will depend on how it's nurtured. Like your habit of digging it up, that will affect the number of beans it can bear later on. Lu Chongqing threw a glance at his son and remarked. Although it was nourished by the tricolored soil, looking at the bean right now, he estimated that it could probably yield only 7 or 8 beans. Getting a full 10 would be tough. Then Dad, give me 2 extra beans, right? I'll give one to Sister Qingzhu when the time comes. Lu Qingshan immediately chimed in with a laugh. Willing to share the good stuff, huh? Alright, I'll give you 2 extra and I'll give one to Qingsong too, Lu Chongqing replied with a chuckle. Lu Qingsong was Lu Miaohuan's second son, Lu Qingshan's younger brother. Dad, when will this golden bean bear fruit? Lu Qingshan continued to inquire. By the time you're nearly grown up, this golden bean should be able to bear fruit, Lu Chongqing answered. Dad, I'm 7 years old. I'm an adult now. Lu Qingshan puffed out his chest proudly and exclaimed. By the time you're 15, this bean should be able to bear fruit. Lu Chongqing looked at his son who was only about 1 meter tall and chuckled. The golden armor bean mother takes 3 years to germinate, 3 years to grow leaves, 3 years to flower and 3 years to produce fruit. But with the nourishment of the tricolored soil, this growth rate was significantly accelerated. Chapter 4:14. Blood Talisman Spiritual Body 2nd Rank Alchemy. _4. Now, after 3.5 years, the leaves have already grown tender and dewy. Therefore, Lu Chongqing estimated that in another 6 or 7 years, the golden armor bean mother could possibly bear beans. That long, huh? Lu Qingshan's spirits deflated immediately upon hearing this. Not long at all. You can water the beans every day. Maybe that will help them grow faster. Thinking of the affinity between the Gingjin body constitution and the beans, Lu Chongqing said so. As the Gingjin body constitution resonated somewhat with the golden armor bean mother, regular contact might aid in its growth. Just like some spiritual plant masters use certain techniques to improve the growth of spirit plants. Dad, no problem, but what's the benefit for me? Lu Qingshan showed a pleasing look. Benefits. Lu Chongqing looked at his son's youthful face and smiled. This golden bean should yield about 8 beans. When the time comes, I'll give you 3. If you take good care of them and they yield more than 8 beans, all the extra ones will be yours. How about that? Deal. Lu Qingshan agreed immediately with a nod. He even added, Dad, you can't go back on your word and cheat a kid later. Aren't you an adult now? How did you become a child again? Lu Chongqing chuckled. In front of you, Dad, I'll always be a child. Lu Qingshan said with a giggle. Hee, Dad always keeps his word, never deceiving anyone. Come on, let's replant this golden bean. Lu Chongqing brought his son back to their courtyard. He shook his head at the exposed little pit and planted the golden armor bean mother into it. This soil even glows. How can you not realize it's a treasure? Lu Chongqing, looking at the exposed 3-color soil, asked his son. Is this soil also a treasure? At the time Xiao Jin said there was a treasure here and I thought the treasure was just this bean. I didn't pay much attention to anything else. Lu Qingshan scratched his head as he reacted. Look at you, can't even recognize all the treasures and yet you're out treasure hunting. Study more diligently in the future and recognize all the treasures. That way you won't miss any opportunities when you go out. Lu Chongqing advised his son. The school at Qingzhou Mountain not only had great scholars teaching reading and writing. There were also cultivators teaching cultivation trials and knowledge of the cultivation world. After detecting a spiritual root, the age from 6 to 12 was all about learning. That's why family and immortal sect children often knew more and had broader knowledge than loose cultivators. You're right, Dad. I will definitely listen to you and study hard. Lu Qingshan nodded earnestly, the picture of someone eagerly taking in lessons. Heh. Lu Chongqing chuckled softly as he watched his son. He knew his son's character well. This was just him going along with what he said. Lu Chongqing didn't mind. After all, he was currently only good at nurturing people. Teaching them was another matter. He couldn't guarantee that he could teach the child well. So as long as the child didn't grow up twisted, he let other matters take their own course. His philosophy was to let nature take its course, and to govern by doing nothing that goes against nature. After replanting the golden armor bean mother, Lu Chongxing took Lu Qingshan to see Lu Miaoyun. He asked her to take Lu Qingshan to water the beans with spiritual water and spiritual liquid regularly. Lu Miaoyun learned that Lu Qingshan had dug up the beans to play with and couldn't help but laugh and cry. Although she had been tasked with looking after the golden armor bean mother, she didn't water it with spiritual liquid every day. She watered it only every few days. So she didn't notice that Lu Qingshan had dug it up for play. However, this incident made her more alert and she planned to watch over it every day, lest the child played with it again and lost it, which would be bad. After dealing with this minor episode, Lu Chongxing went to the Qingzhou Hall to find the family head Lu Miaocheng. He reported that he was ready in terms of talisman making, and if the family wanted to hold a ceremony, he was available at any time. Lu Miaocheng, upon hearing this, said he would arrange it right away, and that it would likely take place in 2 months. He also inquired about Lu Changsheng's proficiency with second-rank talismans. When he heard that Lu Changsheng's proficiency with the second-rank Thunderfire talismans was at 60 to 70%, and he had even made a start on several other second-rank spirit talismans, he was both surprised and delighted. Learning that Lu Chongxing needed second-rank talisman materials, Lu Miaocheng immediately allocated nearly 100 sets of second-rank talisman materials from the storeroom to Lu Chongxing. He mentioned that if Lu Chongxing needed more in the future, the family would reserve more second-rank talisman materials for him. Chapter 415. Master Lu, I fell in love with you at first sight. _1. Lu Changsheng's promotion to a second-grade talisman master and the upcoming ceremony celebrating this feat spread rapidly through the entirety of Qingzhou Mountain like a storm. Previously, as Lu Chongxing had requested time to prepare, the news was only known to a select few senior members of the Lu family and had not been widely disseminated. Now, with the announcement within the Lu family, it instantly caused a flurry of joy and excitement. A second-grade talisman master, Elder Ninth, has actually been promoted to a second-grade talisman master. Although I've always heard about Uncle Changsheng's extraordinary talent in the talisman path, I didn't expect him to be promoted to a second-grade talisman master so soon. Reaching the status of a second-grade talisman master at such a young age, he truly has boundless prospects in the art of talismans. Our young lady is also a top-level first-grade talisman master. Perhaps she will also be promoted to a second-grade talisman master in the future. Now our Lu family has a second-grade talisman master as its pillar. Alas, I used to think that with Lu Chongxing having a 9th-grade spiritual root and his constant indulgence in pleasures of the flesh, even with his unusual talent for the talisman path, he wouldn't get very far, but now he's become a second-grade talisman master. Ever since I broke through to the energy refinement late stage, I've somewhat neglected my cultivation, lost in drink and pleasure. Compared to Lu Chongxing, what right do I have to fall into depravity? From today onwards, I swear off alcohol and will enter seclusion. A second-grade talisman master, why didn't I choose Lu Chongxing during the welcome feast back then? Had I known this would happen, even if it meant becoming a concubine to Lu Chongxing, I would have been willing. Inside Qingzhou Mountain, people who learned of this news felt either joy or emotion. Overall, there was an atmosphere of happiness. After all, for the Lu family, this was great news. The overall situation of the Lu family was flourishing. They had not only annihilated their sworn enemy, the Qin family of Red Leaf Valley, but also gained control of 40% of the Red Leaf Valley market. With Lu Yuanzhong in the prime of his life at the helm, the family was worry-free for a century. Now with Lu Chongxing as a second-grade talisman master, it was natural for everyone to be overjoyed. Congratulations to my husband on being promoted to a second-grade talisman master. Congratulations, father, on being promoted to a second-grade talisman master. Congratulations, daddy, on being promoted to a second-grade talisman master. At Lu Changsheng's home, all of his wives, concubines, maids and children also came forward to offer their congratulations. Since the news had not been revealed earlier, Lu Chongxing had asked Lu Miaoyun to not mention it at home for the time being. Now that the news was announced, it naturally brought surprise and joy to his wives and children. After all, they all knew that their living standards depended on Lu Changxing. The higher Lu Changsheng's standing and identity became, the more they could rise with the tide. Meanwhile, invitations were being sent out from Qingzhou Mountain to the Bai family of Hundred Birds Lake, the Zheng family of Wugong Ridge, and the Yu family of Bai Lake Mountain, as well as to foundation establishment families that had interactions with the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain, neighboring small energy refining families and business associates. Lu Changxing also sent an invitation to his good friend Hong Yi. It wasn't for the purpose of gifts. Such a celebration wasn't about profiting. It was mainly for the sake of reputation. After all, the highest level of cultivators attending such a celebration would be at foundation establishment, with most being energy refining cultivators, unable to present any precious gifts. The entire celebration was likely to run at a loss. Unless it was a core formation ceremony, then the major foundation establishment powers might be willing to present substantial gifts. Thus, inviting Hong Yi was purely because of friendship. It was an opportunity for Hong Yi to expand his network through this celebration. At the Yu family of Bai Lake Mountain, a second-grade talisman master celebration. I didn't expect this Lu Changxing to have been promoted to a second-grade talisman master so soon. The patriarch of the Yu family looked at the invitation in his hand, his expression becoming pensive. As one of the several large families neighboring Qingzhou Mountain, they were naturally well aware of the situations of the families around them. Lu Changxing had long been on the watch list of these families. Otherwise, the Yu family wouldn't have tried to recruit Lu Changxing by sending Yu Ningyuan to dig at him and ordering an attack on him and Lu Miaoge. But he never expected that Lu Changxing would be promoted to a second-grade talisman master so quickly. After all, talent is just talent. Who knows how many so-called geniuses were unable to take the next step after reaching the pinnacle of the first rank. However, this Lu Changxing only has a 9th-grade spiritual root. Even with his extraordinary talent in the talisman path and ascending to 2nd grade, cultivation level is the foundation. Without the strength of cultivation level, he will find it difficult to make progress in the talisman path now. What's more intriguing is the mysterious foundation establishment female cultivator backing Lu Changxing. She has never shown herself for many years now. I wonder if they are still in contact. The patriarch of the Yu family murmured to himself. A second-grade talisman master was certainly worthy of attention. But a foundation establishment great cultivator was even more fearsome. The reason their Yu family had not pressed aggressively against the Lu family in the Red Leaf Valley market over the years, instead opting for a soft approach, was also because of Meng Xiaoquan's influence. Unsure about the status of this mysterious foundation establishment great cultivator, he felt apprehensive. Huff. He exhaled lightly and put away the invitation, deciding to report this news to the family elder. At the Bai family of Hundred Birds Lake, a second-grade talisman master. I remember this Lu Changxing being quite infatuated with pleasures of the flesh and fathering children. Currently, he has around 20 to 30 wives and concubines with over 100 offspring. The Bai family had thought of the information he knew about Lu Changxing. If a daughter of my Bai family were to marry Lu Changxing and bear him children, perhaps we could form a connection with this talisman master. But Lu Changxing is a son-in-law of the Lu family, so if we wish to offer a bride, it might be a bit tricky. He tapped his fingers lightly on the desk, his face showing contemplation. Status is but a cloud. Lu Changxing is a man who deeply values loyalty and cherishes his offspring, allocating most resources to nurture them. As long as a daughter of my Bai family can bear him several talented children, what worries would there be for my Bai family's future? The Bai family head pondered, thinking of his family elder's current situation, and promptly made a decision. He then ordered the butler waiting outside, "Ask Fei Fei to come see me." Similar thoughts were shared by the Zheng family and several other small families or powers in the vicinity. Chapter 416. Master Lu, the young lady has fallen for you at first sight. After all, most cultivators do not spend too much time on starting families. Even if they take concubines, it's mostly for dual cultivation enjoyment or even for replenishment. Few ever have offspring. Without offspring, the effect of giving away daughters is naturally quite limited and not very significant. Someone like Lu Changxing who marries and takes concubines, prolifically begets children and values love and loyalty, naturally sparks thoughts in others who wish to forge connections through such means. During the days of the Lu family's preparation for the celebration, Lu Chongqing was at home with his wives, concubines and children, serenely crafting talismans. He was ready to turn all 100 sets of second-grade talisman-making materials obtained from the Lu family into talismans. With the profound origin bead and divine sense of foundation establishment late stage, I can even try drawing third-rank talismans, Lu Chongqing thought to himself after finishing a number of talismans in the talisman room. Feeling that with his current mana and divine sense he could attempt to draw third-rank talismans. He had not considered drawing third-rank talismans before due to the lack of talisman materials as well as the absence of a third-rank talisman inheritance. Now with the 99 mystical talisman scripture, there will never be a worry about inheritance. The scripture contains 126,600 variations of talismans derived from 81 types of spiritual patterns, covering everything from basic talismans to 5th-rank talismans. However, to draw 3rd-rank talismans I will also need 3rd-rank talisman-making materials and a 3rd-rank talisman brush. These can only be purchased in the Immortal City, Lu Chongqing muttered, letting out a breath and storing away the talismans before leaving the study. With his current mana and divine sense he could continuously draw talismans for an entire day without feeling tired. But while at home he still took time out to accompany his wives, concubines and children to foster their relationships. "Husband, you have a letter." On seeing Lu Chongqing, Lu Miaoyun handed over a letter, speaking out. "A letter for me?" Lu Chongqing was somewhat surprised on hearing this. He used to correspond with Hong Yi quite often. But since he went to Rui Prefecture every few months he didn't exchange letters that much anymore. A letter from Feiyu? Lu Chongqing was a bit surprised upon seeing the sender. Li Feiyu, who had returned once 3 or 4 years ago and didn't find him, then proceeded to Azure Phoenix Immortal City, had been out of touch ever since. This was the first time he had written a letter to him. Lu Chongqing broke the seal on the letter and checked the contents. There wasn't much said in the letter. It was just a simple greeting with Li Feiyu sharing some observations and experiences from Azure Phoenix Immortal City, and then mentioning his breakthrough to 6th-level energy refinement, now settled in Azure Phoenix Immortal City, asking Lu Chongqing not to worry. He said that in case of any matters, letters could be sent to Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Since the journey was long he didn't expect to return anytime soon. Therefore he hoped Lu Chongqing, as his uncle, could help keep an eye on his children's well-being and arrange their marriages. It takes more than half a year to travel from Qingzhou Mountain to Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Feiyu's settling down in Azure Phoenix Immortal City and writing back now. Indeed it has been more than 3 years, Lu Chongqing thought after reading the letter and feeling relieved to know his friend was fine. But he sighed at the thought of Li Feiyu's decision to settle in Azure Phoenix Immortal City for the long term. Clearly, Li Feiyu intended to carve out an achievement in the Azure Phoenix Immortal City, perhaps even aiming for foundation establishment before returning. Although Azure Phoenix Immortal City is known as a haven for loose cultivators, full of opportunities that have launched many into soaring success, one could imagine that making a name and achieving something of significance is not so simple. Li Feiyu is currently only at 6th-level energy refinement. Without a great opportunity, breaking through to 9th-level energy refinement may take more than a decade, and the chances of achieving foundation establishment are even slimmer. I can also visit Azure Phoenix Immortal City if there is a chance in the future, Lu Chongqing said as he put away the letter. Thinking that if he had time in the future he could also take a trip to the Azure Phoenix Immortal City. After all, Azure Phoenix Immortal City is different from the other 2 major immortal cities. Located at the border between Jiang Country and Yu Country, near the Myriad Beasts mountain range, it is a sacred place for loose cultivators. Before one knew it, 2 months had passed. Today, Qingzhou Mountain is festooned with lanterns and streamers, radiating festive cheer. The patriarch of the Yu family from Bai Lake Mountain has arrived. The Bai family head from 100 Birds Lake has arrived. The foundation establishment ancestor from Wugong Ridge Xing family has arrived. The family head from Ning family of Creek Mountain has arrived. The voices of the greeters were continuously raised, announcing each honored guest and the gifts they brought. Today is the celebration for Lu Chongqing, the 9th elder of the Lu family, for being promoted to 2nd-grade talisman master. Thus, surrounding cultivation families, power groups with business relationships with the Lu family, and cultivators all have come to attend. But if one observed closely among the arriving guests, Many were accompanied by a young and beautiful woman. Rare, this talisman Master Lu is only in his 30s at the prime of his life. He may even have a chance to become a Foundation establishment ancestor in the future. You must perform well later, and if he takes notice of you and takes you as a concubine, our Luo family will have made it. A middle-aged man with a weathered face advised his treasured daughter. Like him, there were quite a few cultivators instructing their daughters and juniors. After all, those who came to attend the celebration had also inquired about this talisman master beforehand, and knew that he was a rarity among cultivators. Most cultivators, in their single-minded pursuit of cultivation, do not indulge themselves in worldly pleasures and the company of women. And even if they did indulge, it's usually just with female cultivators, the objective being to relax, to enjoy for dual cultivation or replenishment. Someone like Lu Chongxing, who takes many wives and concubines and has fathered over 100 children in just over 10 years, is truly extraordinary. Moreover, rumor has it that this talisman master is quite generous to his wives, concubines and children. Chapter 417. Master Lu, the young lady has fallen for you at first sight. He had spent all his cultivation resources on his wives, concubines and children. So, under the transmission of such news, many forces and small families began to harbor thoughts. They contemplated marrying off their daughters to forge a connection with Talisman Master Lu. After all, if their daughters or descendants could bear Talisman Master Lu several children of exceptional talent, it would be akin to making the acquaintance of a second-grade Talisman Master. At the moment, Lu Chongxing was sitting on the high platform of the Great Hall with the Lu family ancestor, Lu Yuanzhong, accepting congratulations from others. Only when Foundation establishment ancestors came forward did he and Lu Yuanzhong go up to greet them, exchanging pleasantries. At other times, there was no need for the two of them to welcome the guests. After all, the status of a second-grade talisman master barely qualified him to mingle with Foundation establishment cultivators as equals. Or, to put it another way, Foundation establishment cultivators were also willing to show a second-grade talisman master some respect. That is Lu Chongxing. I heard he started as a son-in-law taken into the Lu family. From a son-in-law to showing such astonishing talent in the talisman path, achieving such success. The Lu family really got lucky, picking up a son-in-law who turned out to have such a gift for the talisman path. I heard the man has only a lower-grade spiritual root. Otherwise, with such a talent for the talisman path, breaking through to Foundation establishment, I'm afraid his future would be boundless. Many looked up at Lu Chongxing on the high platform with eyes filled with envy and jealousy. After all, for many small families or minor forces cultivators, life was incredibly tough. Seeing someone like Lu Chongxing who came from a humble background but turned his fate around with talent, they felt admiration and at the same time, envy and resentment. Is that Master Lu? Such a handsome and unearthly man exists in this world. With such peerless looks and being a second-grade talisman master, he's truly both talented and handsome. Some of the young ladies and women, having been briefed by their families, couldn't help but be attracted from afar upon seeing Lu Chongxing. Since today was the celebration for Lu Chongxing, Lu Miaoyun and Lu Miaohuan also dressed up beautifully for him. Their hair, neatly tied with a green jade crown, looked gentle and refined. They donned wide-sleeved robes of green jade color, with a golden jade belt embroidered with golden silk at the waist. On the left side of the jade belt hung an exquisitely patterned jade pendant, and they wore celestial blue boots with cloud patterns embroidered on them. The overall look was opulent yet understated, and as they moved, the spiritual light embroidery flowed through their garments, making the already handsome Lu Chongxing even more dashing and otherworldly. If one could marry such Master Lu, it would be quite good. My sister was unwilling to come before. If she saw Master Lu, she would surely regret it. Master Lu is so handsome, he must be a very good person. Some young ladies initially resisted their family's arrangements, but upon seeing the handsome figure of Lu Chongxing, suddenly they were much less resistant. They felt that even becoming a concubine of such a Master Lu would be quite nice. The Marquis of Rui Prefecture has arrived. Following the announcer's call, a dignified man in his 50s and a middle-aged man in his 30s entered the Lu family villa. Upon seeing Lu Chongxing, they immediately offered congratulations. Congratulations to Master Lu on his success in the talisman path. Ancestor, this is Hong Yi, a secular friend of mine. Lu Chongqing introduced Hong Yi to Lu Yunzhong with a nod toward the Marquis of Rui. Very good, since he is a friend of Chongqing, he shall henceforth be a friend of Qingzhou Mountain as well. Lu Yunzhong smiled and nodded, showing great respect. Greetings to Lu ancestor. Rui Prefecture's Lord and Hong Yi were both flattered and surprised. After all, Foundation establishment ancestors were usually lofty figures whom they could hardly ever meet. They hadn't expected that Lu Chongqing, now a second-grade talisman master, would still give them face and even introduce them to a Foundation establishment ancestor. Their hearts throbbed with excitement and elation. Uncle Hong, Brother Hong, please take a seat. Lu Chongqing didn't stand on ceremony and invited the two to sit. Some guests, upon seeing Lu Chongqing personally receiving the Lord of Rui Prefecture and Hong Yi, were both surprised and intrigued. They couldn't help but step forward to talk and get acquainted with the Lord and Hong Yi. As time passed, more and more guests arrived. The Lu family estate was extraordinarily lively with over 100 tables for the banquet. Lu Chongqing passed the time drinking and chatting with guests, along with Lu Yunzhong. Master Lu, this is my great-granddaughter Jing Yongwan. She has long admired Master Lu. At this moment, the Zheng family ancestor introduced a 17 or 18-year-old girl to Lu Chongqing. The girl called Jing Yongwan immediately blushed with bashfulness and shyly lowered her head. She hadn't expected her own ancestor to bring up such a matter in front of such a large public gathering. Lu Chongqing was somewhat flummoxed by the Zheng family ancestor's behavior. He mused that he was just a second-grade talisman master. Was it really necessary for a Foundation establishment ancestor to personally offer him a young woman? However, he also immediately realized that the Zheng family ancestor's life wasn't long for this world, and his family lacked a successor. Although they were seeking support from the Yu family, they knew the Yes support was unreliable. So, this Zheng family ancestor was also placing a bet on him, or rather on the Lu family. He glanced at the girl named Jing Yongwan. At 17 or 18 she possessed a cultivation of Qi refinement level 5. For her age and cultivation she likely had a decent spiritual root, perhaps a middle-grade spiritual root. But specifically, without direct contact and examination, Lu Chongqing couldn't just tell. Regardless, he had no interest. After all, if he were to choose a young woman, he'd prefer someone without much of a background or entanglements. A girl like the one offered by the Zheng family ancestor not only came with family ties but could even affect the relationship between the Lu and Jing families. Master Lu, this is my niece by Feifei. I've heard that Master Lu lacks someone to attend to his daily needs. Feifei has fallen in love with Master Lu at first sight. Just then, the Bai family head, noting the Zheng family ancestor's move, immediately stepped forward with a gentle and beautiful young girl and said. He had initially planned to wait until the celebration was almost over to find an opportunity to speak to Lu Chongqing about this. But he had not anticipated the Zheng family ancestor, a Foundation establishment ancestor himself, to do such a thing. Thus, he didn't want to wait any longer and promptly brought his niece forward. Master Lu, my daughter also fell in love with Master Lu at first sight and wishes to serve the master. Master Lu, my niece is all alone in this world, and upon seeing Master Lu today she has fallen in love and wishes to attend to you, pour your tea, warm your bed. Seeing this, a few others standing nearby stepped up with their accompanying young women, speaking out one after another. Chapter 418. Taking a Concubine. _1. Lu Chongqing looked at the succession of men presenting their daughters with a speechless expression. He thought to himself why a simple celebration had turned into a giveaway event for daughters. Was it that all ceremonies were like this, or was it because of his own reputation that people were catering to his interests? Yet he had been so restrained over the years. He glanced briefly at these young women. All of them had faces like blooming flowers under the moonlight. And they possessed spiritual roots, with cultivation evident in them. This made Lu Chongqing surmise inwardly that this was the power of status and identity. Back then he even had to worry about marrying a fairy with spiritual roots. He could only save money to rescue misfortunate women from the White Jade Tower. Now that he had just advanced to a second-grade talisman master, family after family, power after power, was sending over their descendants with spiritual root talents to be his concubines. Chongqing, if you're interested you can simply take them in without any hesitation. Lu Yunzhong transmitted his voice to Lu Chongqing at that moment. He of course knew about Lu Changsheng's character. Knew that Lu Chongqing had no great ambition for cultivation. just wanted to have many children and a house full of descendants. So taking in concubines was not something he minded much. Besides, people were sending daughters to Lu Chongqing as a way to establish good relationships, favor with him and his Lu family. His Lu family was also willing to engage with these people through this method to strengthen ties. Hearing these words, Lu Chongqing had a moment of contemplation. Feeling that since he need not worry about the relationships with the Lu family and these families, then he could indeed take them in. For one, he had already considered the idea of taking concubines. He needed to increase revenue and cut expenses, to fill up his back courtyard. Moreover, as his cultivation strength improved, he no longer had to be as cautious and worried as before when it came to marrying wives and taking in concubines. Although these women had their own families, to him, they were also known commodities from clear and unsullied backgrounds, not likely to bring any trouble. After all, he couldn't possibly find all his concubines from amongst orphans. Nor were there that many orphaned female cultivators for him to encounter and bring home. He could visit the White Jade Tower to buy maidservants, but in the White Jade Tower lower-grade spiritual root maidservants cost a few hundred spirit stones, middle-grade spiritual root maidservants started at a few thousand spirit stones. Even with wealth he couldn't sustain such expenditure. Moreover, since he was preparing to establish a family, he also needed some allies, a network of relationships. And marital alliances were the best method to establish such a network. Even if he didn't take them now, in the future, if he wanted his offspring to marry women with clear backgrounds and spiritual roots, the best method would also be to form marital alliances with other cultivation families. For the sake of the family, for the sake of the children, I as an old father can only humiliate myself. Lu Chongqing sighed inwardly. Then he cupped his hands together and said, "I'm flattered by the affections of all the young ladies, but there are already many wives and concubines in the Lu household." Although he intended to take in a few girls, he couldn't just agree as soon as they asked, could he? Wouldn't that make it seem like he was too lustful and degrade his status? However, before Lu Chongqing could finish speaking, someone immediately said, "It is an honor for my daughter to serve Master Lu. To be a mere maidservant is enough, how can we ask for a status?" Hiss, this head of the Luo family is ruthless, actually not even vying for the status of a concubine for his own daughter. The others from smaller energy refining families found the Luo family head's words quite extreme when he spoke. They also harbored the thought of not competing for status, but thought to at least request the position of a concubine. They couldn't truly let their precious descendants serve others as maidservants. After all, the descendants they chose to bring, although not the seeds of their families, were still some of the better sprouts of their households. Since the Luo family head is so generous, it would be rude to decline such earnest offer. "I will humbly accept." Lu Chongqing, seeing the man so accommodating, also nodded his head. After speaking, he added, "When there's time later, we can exchange more insights about the talisman path." Since they were sending a daughter over to be a maidservant, he also had to show some proper attitude in return. "Master Lu, my daughter feels the same. Master Lu, my niece feels the same," the others also voiced out one after another. This put Elder Zheng of the Zheng family and the Bai family head in a slightly awkward position. The others were just small energy refining families with lesser influence, willing to lower their status before Lu Chongqing, a second-ranked talisman master. But their Zheng and Bai families were, after all, well-known and reputable. If an elder of the family or a family head were to humiliate themselves by offering their own direct daughters to Lu Chongqing as maidservants, it would be somewhat shameful. "I've been smitten with Miss Yongwan and Miss Feifei at first sight and willing to take them as concubines. I wonder if the two ladies would be willing?" Lu Chongqing, noticing Elder Zheng's and the Bai family head's embarrassment, volunteered. Annexing Red Leaf Valley was still included in his contingency plans. Therefore he was also willing to foster a good relationship with the Zheng and Bai families. Moreover, judging by their appearances and cultivation levels, he believed that Jing Yongwan and Bai Feifei were likely to have middle-grade spiritual roots. Thus, taking the two as secondary concubines would be quite suitable. Upon hearing this, both women felt a slight relief in their hearts. Both of them, after all, were direct descendants of foundation establishment families. Although willing to marry Lu Chongqing, to become maidservants like those from smaller families was still slightly bitter to them. Ill abide by the elder's decision, ill abide by the head's decision. The two women did not directly respond but spoke softly with their heads bowed. Good. If that's so, then this matter is settled. Elder Zheng and the Bai family head immediately showed smiles upon seeing this, and indicated that, concubinage notwithstanding, they would still interact with Lu Chongqing as equals in the future. The other families seeing this scene did not say much. Knowing that the Zheng and Bai families were foundation establishment families, not something their own families could compare with. Chapter 419. Taking a concubine. Although Master Lu took many wives and concubines with his current status, he was not inclined to acknowledge all of them. Nevertheless, they were content to become maidservants. After all, they still had the opportunity to bear offspring in the future. If they gave birth to excellent children, the mother might benefit from the child's status. Some of the other guests witnessing this scene couldn't help but think of suitable relatives of marriageable age within their families. They hoped to form connections with the Lu family and Master Lu through such means. Thus, after a 3-day and 3-night celebration, Lu Chongqing hosted another feast to welcome concubines. He took Xing Yongwan and Bai Feifei as his new concubines. No objections came from Lu Changsheng's wives and other concubines about the addition of the 2 women and 5 maidservants. One reason was that they had grown accustomed to their husbands' ways. Moreover, the Lu family ancestor had given his blessing to this affair. It's been a long time since the 9th elder has taken concubines. I heard that these 2 are legitimate daughters of the Zheng and Bai families, yet now they can only be concubines. Yes, I remember Bai Feifei never married out. I didn't expect that she would end up marrying Uncle Chongqing as a concubine now. Of course, Brother Chongqing is now a 2nd-grade talisman master. Being able to marry him is a stroke of luck. Lu Chongqing now has 30 or 40 wives, maidservants and concubines, and now 7 more have been added. The Lu family disciples discussed Lu Changsheng's wedding, voicing their astonishment. That night, Lu Chongqing entered the bridal chamber. He skillfully lifted the red bridal veil, gazing upon the shy faces of the 2 young women before him. That year he was 36 with 7 wives, 13 concubines and 29 maidservants, and a fairy who had yet to be married and bear a child. For the following month, Lu Chongqing remained at home, enjoying the bliss of a newlywed night after night. Among the 2 new concubines and 5 maidservants, both Xing Yongwan and Bai Feifei had 5th-grade spiritual roots. Among the 5 maidservants, except for a girl named Luo Rui with 6th-grade spiritual roots, the rest all had 7th-grade spiritual roots. But for Lu Chongqing this was acceptable. After all, in such families having a middle-grade spiritual root was already considered quite talented. That they were willing to become his concubines was already a considerable investment on their part. As new people were added to his household, the already substantial estate began to feel a bit crowded. Lu Yuanzhong was very generous and allocated a plot of land in Qingzhou Valley for Lu Chongqing so that another large estate could be built for him. She must be pregnant by now, right? After a month of effort, Lu Chongqing felt that Xing Yongwan and Bai Feifei were likely with child. He didn't linger any longer. After arranging household affairs, he set off for the Red Leaf Valley market. He had been home for quite a long time after all. In a few more months, Xianxia would be returning to Qingyun sect, and he wanted to accompany her. Upon arriving at the Red Leaf Valley market riding an iron feather eagle, Lu Chongqing first visited his peace talisman hall. He informed Gao He that his spiritual talisman shop would now sell 1 2nd-rank talisman to the public every month. The number of supreme 1st-grade talismans was raised to 8 per month. He also instructed Gao He to help him purchase 2nd-grade talisman making materials on a long-term basis. Now that he had the 99 mystical talisman scripture and the method of talisman refinement formation, his need for 2nd-grade talismans had greatly increased. He planned to carry several hundred 2nd-grade talismans with him at all times. This way, if he encountered a nascent soul immortal, he could rely on the talisman formation to have some means of self-protection. After discussing matters with Gao He, Lu Chongqing also inquired about his son, Lu Xianzi's well-being. He took his son to the 3rd floor and taught him about the knowledge of puppets. The craft of puppet making, although not highly profitable, just earned a modest income. However, the cost of learning was also relatively low. That's because when crafting puppets, if a mistake is made in one of the steps and it fails, only some of the materials are lost and most can still be reused. Unlike talisman making and alchemy, once those fail, all materials are basically wasted, burning through money rapidly. Xianxia, Don't just stay inside the shop every day, go out more when you have time. If you see a girl you fancy, you can also talk to your father about it. After teaching about puppets, Lu Chongqing said this to his son Lu Xianji. His son was also 16 years old. It was time to consider marriage. Though many cultivators didn't marry for a lifetime to focus on their cultivation, or they only settled down when they were in their 40s or 50s, for someone like Lu Xianji, Lu Chongqing still hoped his son would start a family early. Dad, I understand. In his youth, Lu Xianji had been rather naughty, but as he grew older and more sensible, his personality became more stable and restrained. As long as you understand, I'm not rushing you. I'm just hoping you'll also think about this aspect, Lu Chongqing said, nodding. His child was only 16. He wasn't truly in a rush yet. Dad, rest assured I understand, Lu Xianji said with a smile, nodding in agreement. He knew his father's wish was for a house full of descendants, so he could understand his father's thoughts. Being only a 9th grade spiritual root, his achievements in this life would be limited, so it would be better to start a family early. After giving his son a few instructions, Lu Chongqing went to the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop. Lu Miaoge had also returned to Qingzhou Mountain for the celebration, so she knew about Lu Chongqing taking concubines. To this, she just advised Lu Chongqing to take good care of his health, not to indulge too much in carnal desires, as such activities could harm his body and interfere with his cultivation. In response to such remarks, Lu Chongqing demonstrated through action that his body was in excellent condition. After the couple shared a tender moment, Sister Miaoge, this is the talisman path inheritance I received back then. But since I hadn't been able to advance to a 2nd grade talisman master and fully understand its contents, I've been unable to sketch out the content inside. These are the spiritual patterns I can now trace. Chapter 420. Taking a concubine. Lu Chongqing took out a jade scroll and handed it to Lu Miaoge. Inside the jade scroll was a foundational spiritual pattern from the 99 mystical talisman scripture, one of 81 spiritual patterns. But this one foundational spiritual pattern could give rise to over 300 types of runes. It contained the profundity of the talisman path that was difficult to comprehend. If Lu Miaoge could comprehend it, she would benefit greatly and make significant progress in the talisman path. Moreover, he wanted to see how long it would take for Lu Miaoge to understand and comprehend this spiritual pattern. If Lu Miaoge could fully grasp this spiritual pattern and successfully sketch it before her foundation establishment, Lu Chongqing felt that he could consider teaching her the 99 mystical talisman scripture. Although Lu Miaoge had cultivated the Saturn solar sword technique, but compared to the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, this 99 mystical talisman scripture was obviously more suitable for her. A talisman path inheritance? Lu Miaoge said, somewhat surprised and astonished. She had not expected that Lu Chongqing had another talisman path inheritance. But thinking of Lu Changsheng's understanding of the talisman path, her heart eased slightly. That's right, my rapid progress in the talisman path is also related to this inheritance. Lu Chongqing nodded and said warmly. Lu Miaoge took the jade scroll and examined the spiritual pattern on it. Looking at the spiritual pattern on the jade scroll, Lu Miaoge was stunned and immersed in it. It took her a long time to come back to her senses and said, Chongqing, this spiritual pattern is incredibly profound. It appears simple, yet it's extremely complex, containing countless variations, which are profound and difficult to understand. Lu Miaoge said aloud. As a top-level talisman master, she indeed had a certain level of discernment and understanding of the talisman path. She could clearly see that this spiritual pattern included many combinations and variations. She wanted to discern these variations, but the more she looked, the more she realized how profound and mysterious the pattern was, and it eluded her. In her heart, she marveled that Lu Chongqing was able to sketch such a complex and profound spiritual pattern. That's right, this spiritual pattern has 365 variations, evolving into 365 types of runes. Lu Chongqing smiled and began to slowly explain the various changes and the mysteries within this spiritual pattern. Listening to Lu Changsheng's warm voice explaining the profound truths of the talisman path, Lu Miaoge became deeply engrossed. After Lu Chongqing finished explaining, Lu Miaoge looked at his exceptionally handsome profile and became slightly entranced. She recalled the moments from when she first met Lu Chongqing until now. From the initial impression of not bad to a person not bad. to the exasperation of his indulgence in the company of women. Then seeing his rapid progress on the talisman path, leading to an air of mystery. Not only did he save her from a life-threatening situation, but he also provided the 3 Suns elixir, an exquisite level cultivation method, and a rare treasure such as the treasure-seeking mouse. Now he was imparting such a talisman path inheritance, teaching her the profound truths of the talisman path. Being able to comprehend and understand this spiritual pattern so thoroughly made her feel that Lu Chongqing was definitely not as simple as just advancing to 2nd grade talisman master. What's wrong suddenly looking at me like that? Lu Chongqing, seeing Lu Miage's beautiful eyes brimming with admiration, couldn't help but smile and ask. I just feel that you have become more and more impressive, Chongqing. Lu Miaoge said with a lovely smile in a soft voice. Sister Miaoge, I have some secrets and fortunes. But don't worry, I will tell you all about these secrets and fortunes in the future. Lu Chongqing knew that explaining the spiritual pattern had caused Lu Miaoge to be puzzled and skeptical. Which was normal. Even just a basic spiritual pattern from the 99 mystical talisman scripture was extremely profound. Not something that someone who had just advanced to 2nd grade talisman master could fully comprehend. I know. Chongqing, if there's something weighing on your heart, you can always talk to me about it. Lu Miage's eyes were moist and her demeanor gentle as water as she spoke softly. Adding, we are husband and wife. Sister Miaoge. Hearing this, Lu Changqing's heart warmed. The strength, treasures and secrets brought by the system, which he had always kept hidden in his heart for fear that revealing them would cause trouble, were indeed tiring. But fortunately he had his wives to ensure he had no other worries in his daily life. Looking at his wife in front of him, he embraced her graceful and delicate body and kissed her deeply on the lips. Chongqing. Lu Miaoge hadn't expected that after just having been intimate Lu Chongqing would want her again. Combining the transmission of Tao and pleasure, it might actually help with understanding spiritual patterns, he whispered into her ear, his breath hot. Faced with Lu Changqing's instruction, Lu Miaoge could only half close her eyes languidly, gently biting her lip and listen intently. But because the teachings were so profound, she also felt the strain of learning, her body covered in fragrant sweat. After a while, as the transmission of knowledge and essence concluded, she too reciprocated passionately, contemplating the principles within. The next day, Lu Chongqing visited the courtyard where Xianxia was staying. Inside the courtyard, Xianxia, dressed in a moon-white gown, looked as graceful as ever, showing no signs of having just given birth. She watched serenely over the cradle where Lu Wangshu was sleeping soundly. Chongqing, you're finished with your tasks, Xianxia said with a smile when she saw Lu Chongqing speaking in a gentle voice. Shiyu. Seeing this scene, Lu Chongqing felt somewhat ashamed of his recent conduct. He felt that he truly hadn't fulfilled his responsibilities. Sitting down beside her, he watched the child and chatted with Xianxia. Shiyu, do you know what a blood talisman's spiritual body is? He asked after a moment, thinking of his daughter's spiritual body. In this period he had looked through several ancient books about spiritual bodies. However, he hadn't found any information about the blood talisman's spiritual body. He knew that this superior spiritual body was probably rare. So he asked Xianxia. After all, it concerned the awakening of his own spiritual body and his daughter's future awakening. Blood talisman's spiritual body? Xianxia, on hearing this, shook her head slightly. She had never heard of this spiritual body either. I don't know much about spiritual bodies either, she said. If you need it, Chongqing, I will look for information about it when I return to Qingyun sect, she offered. I saw a brief description of this spiritual body in an ancient book and suspect that I might possess it, Lu Chongqing explained. So I would appreciate it, Shiyu, if you could help me find more information about it. He didn't say that he had noticed the child had a spiritual body. After all, it would be somewhat exaggerated to determine that his newborn child possessed a certain spiritual body. As for his daughter inheriting this spiritual body in the future, the explanation was simple. His daughter inherited his excellent spiritual body, which was perfectly normal. Although the chance of passing on a spiritual body is extremely slim. But sometimes things just happen to coincide. Blood talisman's spiritual body, all right, agreed Xianxia. Learning that Lu Chongqing might possess this spiritual body, she immediately took the matter more seriously. She planned to check the Sutra Pavilion upon her return to the sect, and if there was no information there she would ask her master. She also told Lu Chongxing that she planned to return to Qingyun sect after 3 more months, although she would come down the mountain whenever she had the time. If Lu Chongxing had anything he needed he could write to her. Hearing this, Lu Chongxing didn't try to persuade her otherwise. After all, Xianxia had already mentioned that she would be leaving at this time. As a disciple of the Immortal sects, given tasks and a territory to defend, she couldn't possibly stay outside for long. Chapter 421. Xianxia leaves, awakening the blood talisman's spiritual body. _1. In the blink of an eye, 3 months passed. During this period, both of the concubines newly taken by Lu Chongxing, Jing Yongwan and by Fei Fei, succeeded in becoming pregnant. As for the 5 maids, only Luo Rui was pregnant for the time being. This was also why Lu Chongxing spent most of his time at the Red Leaf Valley Market. At home he only gave minimal care. However, this efficiency had already astonished the Jing family and Luo family to no end. They thought to themselves that Master Lu truly enjoyed having children. It had only been 2 or 3 months and they were already pregnant. Especially the Luo family head. He had thought that since his daughter was a maid, it would take a lot of effort to win Master Lu's favor. He never expected that she would become pregnant so quickly. He was truly pleasantly surprised. Immediately, all 3 families sent tonics to their respective daughters to ensure they were well nourished during pregnancy. After all, they had sent their daughters to Lu Chongxing to be concubines and maids, hoping they would bear offspring to deepen the ties between their families. Now that they were pregnant, they naturally hoped the children would have spiritual roots and excellent talents to gain Lu Changsheng's attention. On this day Xianxia was also preparing to return to Qingyun sect. She carried her daughter and walked out of the Red Leaf Valley Market with Lu Chongxing. Chongxing, as she looked at Lu Chongxing and her daughter in his arms, her heart was filled with reluctance. She even had the thought of giving up going back to the sect, just so she could stay by Lu Chongxing and their child's side. The separation now is only for a better reunion later. Lu Chongxing looked at Xianxia and said gently. He also felt somewhat reluctant. But he still supported Xianxia's decision to return to the sect for cultivation. During this time, because of the child, Xianxia had become somewhat indifferent to cultivation. Wangshu still can't call me mother. When I come back, will she have forgotten about me? The once Guanghan fairy, akin to the 9 heavens bright moon, had now descended to the mortal realm, entangled in worldly affections, becoming as sentimental and affectionate as most mothers. If you miss her, write to me and I will bring Wangshu to Qingyun sect to see you. Lu Chongxing consoled Xiaoxia's emotions. No, it's dangerous to travel from here to Qingyun sect. What if we encounter danger on the way? Xiaoxia immediately shook her head. Though having Lu Chongxing as a father meant they usually wouldn't face any danger, the child was still small, and she didn't want her daughter to suffer the hardship of travel. She then handed her daughter over to Lu Chongxing. She asked him to take good care of their daughter. Don't worry, this is our daughter, I will naturally take care of her, Lu Chongxing said affectionately while holding his daughter, his tone undeniably firm. Xiaoxia looked at her daughter for a while longer, then with her robes fluttering she rode a crane and flew away. Watching Xiaoxia's figure gradually disappearing into the horizon, Lu Chongxing couldn't help feeling a bit empty. After all, the 2 of them had spent so many years together. Now that they were separating, he didn't know how long it would be before they saw each other again. Sigh. Lu Chongxing looked at the child in his arms and let out a gentle sigh. Then he took a deep breath, exhaled softly, and after returning to the courtyard to tidy up a little, he resumed his true appearance and went to the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop. Chongxing, this is? Lu Miaoge was somewhat surprised and curious as she saw Lu Chongxing holding an infant. After all, normally Lu Chongxing hardly ever took such a young child out with him. This is the child of Xiaoxia and me, Lu Chongxing spoke up, stating directly. Fairy Xiao's child. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoge was somewhat shocked. She knew her husband had been assisting Xiaoxia in her cultivation. She had also guessed that her husband's relationship with this fairy was more than ordinary. But she never thought that while assisting in cultivation, they would have a child together. It was truly astonishing. Previously, Lu Chongxing had told her about Xiaoxia's situation. She had already conquered Foundation establishment, was a core disciple of Qingyun sect. But now, a Foundation establishment female cultivator, a core disciple of Qingyun sect, had borne a child for her husband. This left Lu Miaoge uncertain whether to praise her husband's charm or to say something else. "Where is Fairy Xiao?" Lu Miaoge looked outside and inquired. "She has been away for a long time. She has gone back to Qingyun sect," Lu Chongxing replied. Chongxing. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoge's lips pressed together gently. Thinking that Xiaoxia's farewell had saddened Lu Chongxing, she stepped forward to gently embrace her husband. Fine, it's just a temporary parting," Lu Chongxing replied with a smile indicating that he was all right. "Such a cute child, what is her name?" Seeing Lu Chongxing was fine, Lu Miaoge then turned her attention to the baby, smiling tenderly and softly asking. "Wangshu, Lu Wangshu." Lu Chongxing handed the child to Lu Miaoge. He had brought the child over, hoping that Lu Miaoge would take care of her when she had time. Lu Wangshu. Lu Miaoge held the child, her face full of tenderness, recalling her own daughter Lu Qingzhu. "Chongxing, you should have brought Fairy Xiao and the child over together," Lu Miaoge cooed to the child, her voice soft. "Fairy Xiao must be worried about the child returning to Qingyun sect alone. If she had come together with us, we could have talked to her, got to know each other a little, and she would feel more at ease about the child." Lu Miaoge continued to speak in her gentle way. "You never brought it up before and I didn't realize it either." Lu Chongxing, having heard this, felt it was indeed the case. Even though he was the father, he knew he wouldn't have time to take care of the child all the time, and it was certain that he would have to leave the child in the care of his wives and concubines. And among his wives and concubines, Xiaoxia had only met Lu Miaoge. Just brief encounters without much understanding. No doubt she felt less at ease. How could you let Fairy Xiao take the initiative to speak up about such a matter? Chapter 422. Xiaoxia leaves, awakening the blood talisman's spiritual body. "Next time Fairy Xiao comes, Chongxing, you can let me meet her and have a chat with her. After all, Fairy Xiao is willing to have a child with you. She must be accepting you in her heart," Lu Miaoge said softly to her husband. She knew that even though her husband had many wives and concubines, he still didn't fully understand women's thoughts. "Wife, you are right," Lu Chongxing nodded. Xiaoxia had a child with him, only lacking an official status. Sooner or later she would have to meet and get to know his other wives and concubines. Now it was a good time to use the child as a bridge for communication. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, 3 months passed. Because he was preparing to visit Zhou Immortal City, Lu Chongxing spent most of his time making talismans, preparing for his talisman formation. But while making talismans was important, he did not neglect his duties. He worked diligently every day and all 4 remaining maids became pregnant. The total number of his offspring reached 153. "Husband, you've received a letter." One day Lu Miaoyan handed a letter to Lu Chongxing. "A letter for me?" Lu Chongxing took the letter. It was from Xiaoxia. There were prohibitions on the letter. If forced open, the letter would self-destruct. Lu Chongxing broke the prohibition and read the contents. In the letter, Xiaoxia wrote that everything was well with her. Currently, she was being assigned a mission by her sect and was preparing to go to the Green River Marketplace as the record chief, so she wouldn't be able to come for a short period. Being a record chief was a training treatment only given to core disciples of a sect. It would broaden her horizons and help her understand the cultivation world. There was hardly any danger. The first few pages of the letter were filled with mundane daily affairs and the longing for her daughter, Lu Wangshu. At the end of the letter, Xiaoxia wrote that she had found information about the blood talisman's spiritual body and the green jade luan bird in her sect. The blood talisman's spiritual body is a latent type of talisman path physique, naturally compatible with the great Tao of talismans. This physique allows cultivators who have it to be exceptionally talented and make rapid progress on the path of talisman crafting. In addition, the blood talisman's spiritual body can use one's own spiritual blood to enhance the success rate of talisman making. Furthermore, one can burn their spiritual blood and lifespan to feed a talisman and improve the grade of a talisman by a large margin. However, both methods resulted in substantial self-harm. Just as I had guessed, this blood talisman spiritual body is a type of talisman path physique. Use spiritual blood to improve talisman making success rate, burn lifespan, and spiritual blood to improve a talisman's grade. Lu Chongxing muttered to himself as he read the information about the blood talisman's spiritual body. The letter also mentioned how to awaken the blood talisman's spiritual body. One method would be through some kind of blood sacrifice ritual to awaken the spiritual body, but Xianxia did not provide details about this ritual. The other method would be through the blood refinement method, using second-rank spiritual blood to continuously stimulate the body and thus activate the spiritual body. This method required that the spiritual blood must have a mild attribute. Otherwise, during the stimulation process, it could cause significant self-injury. Blood sacrifice ritual blood refinement method. This blood talisman spiritual body, both its effects and awakening methods are, as the name implies, related to blood. Lu Chongqing said with a sigh as he read about the blood talisman spiritual body and its awakening methods in the letter. The second method, the blood refinement method, was explained by Xianxia in the letter, which seemed quite straightforward to Lu Chongqing. He planned to purchase some second-rank spiritual blood later and use the method described in the letter to awaken his spiritual body, to see how effective this blood talisman spiritual body truly was. As for the requirement that the spiritual blood must be mild, Lu Chongqing ignored it entirely. He practiced the 100 refinements treasure body art, and his physical body was as tough as a superior magic artifact. He was not the least bit worried that such stimulation would cause him any harm. As for the information about the green jade luan bird in the letter, it was about incubation and feeding. For incubation, a nest should be cast from warm jade, then use ingredients like green jade cheong lotus, red yang snow ginseng, bile of the azure scale snake and powder of yuanchen crystal mixed with spirit stone powder to make a spiritual liquid, and pour it into the nest made of warm jade. Place the egg of the green jade luan bird in the nest, and then nourish it with spiritual power and mana every day, and in about 3 to 6 months, the spiritual pet egg would be incubated successfully. Incubating a spiritual pet egg really isn't easy. Seeing the incubation method, Lu Chongqing couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. Just these materials alone would cost him thousands of spirit stones. And the price of this green jade luan bird egg was estimated to be just a few thousand spirit stones. This is also why many people are unwilling to raise spiritual pets. Hatching, feeding, waiting for growth not only consumes time and energy but also financial resources. However, I remember seeing these Qingyu snow lotuses and Qiang snow ginsengs in Meng Yubai's storage bag back then. Lu Changsheng's eyebrows raised slightly. He vaguely remembered seeing these kinds of spiritual medicine and spiritual materials when he cleared out Meng Yubai's storage bag. And he hadn't dealt with these spiritual medicines and materials yet. Right away, Lu Chongqing began searching for these spiritual medicines and materials in his several storage bags. A moment later, Lu Chongqing found the materials needed to hatch the green jade luan bird from the storage bags. It seems that Meng Yibai had already prepared all this beforehand, only I never knew it, Lu Chongqing thought to himself as he looked at these spiritual medicines and materials. He then made a nest with the sky blue warm jade in his courtyard. After that, he prepared the spiritual liquid according to the formula and placed the pet egg inside it. As for nurturing it with mana, Lu Chongqing directly called over Lu Miaoyun. He asked his wife, Lu Miaoyun, to come and nurture the pet egg daily. After all, it would take 3 months to half a year of nurturing to hatch the green jade luan bird. He didn't have the leisure for that, nor would he always be at home, so it was better to leave it to his wife. Once the green jade luan bird hatched later on, he would also leave it for Lu Miaoyun to look after. "Husband, what kind of spiritual beast egg is this?" Lu Miaoyun asked curiously after listening to Lu Changsheng's instructions. The seller said it's the egg of some kind of flying demon beast. "As for which specific demon beast, you'll know once it hatches, Yuner," Lu Chongqing said with a smile. It was not that he intentionally kept it a secret. He simply felt there was a certain anticipation this way. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoyun did not ask further and expressed that she would take good care of the spiritual pet egg. Half a month later, Lu Chongqing spent 2,400 spirit stones to buy 3 gourds of spiritual blood. This so-called second-rank spiritual blood was actually the blood of second-rank demon beasts. In Red Leaf Valley Market, as long as one didn't specify a certain type of demon beast blood, it was still possible to buy some. 3 gourds of blood should be enough. Lu Chongqing looked at his 3 gourds of demon beast blood and thought to himself. He then went to his practice room, took out a large vat and poured all the spiritual blood from 1 gourd into it. This 1 gourd of spiritual blood, naturally, was not as little as it appeared. These gourds, like storage bags, could hold several vats of liquid. 1 gourd of spiritual blood poured in, immediately filling more than half of the large vat. Gulu gulu gulu. This portion of spiritual blood came from a demon beast known as the Blazing Fire Lion. Therefore this blood was like magma still emitting rolling heat. Lu Changsheng's expression remained calm as he stripped off his clothes and entered the vat. Then, following the blood refinement method written by Xianxia, he used the spiritual blood to stimulate his flesh. During this process, the demon beast blood continuously stimulated every inch of his skin and flesh, making his body seem to reveal all sorts of winding blood-colored runes. It looked mysterious and terrifying. Hum hum hum. As Lu Changxing continuously practiced the blood refinement method, the demon beast blood from the vat entered his body through his pores, traveled along his meridians to his dantian. There, the originally faint and sporadic blood veins in his dantian gradually became clearer during the process. Lu Changxing knew that once this blood vein was activated, the blood talisman's spiritual body would successfully awaken. He opened his eyes, flicked his fingers, and the two gourds beside him automatically opened, pouring the spiritual blood directly into the vat. These three different kinds of spiritual blood were already quite domineering on their own. Mixed together, they were even more exceptionally stimulating to the human body. However, as a foundation establishment cultivator who had also been cultivating the 100 Refinements treasure body art, Lu Changxing naturally had no fear of this mere demon beast blood. As the spiritual blood continuously surged, stimulating the blood vein in the dantian, the blood vein became clearer and clearer, forming a mysterious rhythm. After a long while, an unusual aura spread out from within Lu Changxing. It caused the blood vein in his dantian to fully emerge, clearly visible. And at this moment his body was covered in bizarre and mysterious blood-colored runes. But in the blink of an eye, these blood runes gradually faded and disappeared from view. So this is the blood talisman's spiritual body. Lu Changxing opened his eyes, aware that he had successfully awakened the blood talisman's spiritual body. Chapter 423. Effects of the blood talisman's spiritual body. 10,000 poisons devour the heart under one. The blood talisman's spiritual body, how profoundly mysterious. It seems as though one is born with numerous insights into the talisman path. By continually learning and delving into the talisman path, one can integrate and have interrelated understandings, illuminating many difficult problems in talisman arts. Lu Changxing quietly experienced the changes brought by the blood talisman's spiritual body. When this spiritual body was activated, strands of blood patterns in his dantian gradually surfaced, eventually merging into his blood and bones. Almost instantly, many experiences and insights about talisman arts flooded his mind. These insights were enigmatic, indescribable and inexplicable. But as a second-tier top-level talisman master, and the inheritor of the teachings of the 99 mystical talisman scripture, Lu Changxing clearly knew that these were insights into the talisman path. This type of insight was not like the skills acquired from a system lottery, which directly poured knowledge and experience of talisman arts into the mind as if enlightening with a sacred teaching. Instead, it transformed into a kind of innate talent, allowing one to study the talisman path and gradually understand and assimilate, thereby making rapid advancements in the field. The abilities of the blood talisman's spiritual body written about by Xianxia in her letter previously, by burning essence blood, it increases the success rate of talisman making. The method of burning the lifespan to raise the grade of talismans was also within these insights, and it manifested as an innate ability. However, the cost of this ability was steep. For example, creating a second-rank talisman required half an hour, which meant burning half an hour of essence blood. Once the talisman was created, surely the essence blood would be depleted, taking at least 3 to 4 months to recover. As for burning lifespan to increase the grade of talismans, it also depended on one's cultivation level. For instance, a Qi refinement cultivator aiming to elevate a first-grade talisman to second rank might have to expend more than a decade or two of their lifespan. If one tried to upgrade a second-rank talisman to third rank, it could mean the end of all their essence blood and lifespan. Moreover, even after depleting one's essence blood and life, success in upgrading the talisman's grade was still not guaranteed. One could only say that the ability of the blood talisman's spiritual body was fierce, but it was not against the natural order. This ability of the blood talisman's spiritual body seems quite suitable to be used as a tool for talisman making. Not only is the talismanic talent exceptional, advancing rapidly, but in critical moments, one can nourish talismans with blood to enhance their grade. If an ordinary loose cultivator awakened this blood talisman's spiritual body, it might even unwittingly attract misfortune. As Lu Chongqing experienced the abilities of the blood talisman spiritual body, he thought to himself, talent is rare. But not all talents are valued and treasured. Like Bai Ling, she possessed a talent not inferior to a top-grade spiritual root. If she hadn't been picked up by chance, she might have perished at the hands of bandits. Such cases are far from uncommon in the cultivation world. Many people who gain a talent first think of maximizing benefits rather than nurturing it. After all, nurturing a person not only requires a huge investment in resources but also consideration of loyalty, among other factors. So at the end of the day, it's still about power. Without power, existence is a sin. With me as a father, as long as Wang Shu awakens the blood talisman's spiritual body and begins cultivation of the 99 mystical talisman scripture, becoming a fourth-ranked talisman master in the future shouldn't be a problem. After awakening the blood talisman's spiritual body and gaining a general understanding of it, Lu Chongqing also knew that this spiritual body could allow one to make strides on the talisman path, advancing to third rank and even fourth-ranked talisman master. With the 99 mystical talisman scripture as his talismanic legacy, as long as his daughter was willing to learn, she would surely be able to develop the blood talisman's spiritual body to its utmost potential, achieving the status of a fourth-ranked talisman master. It's a pity this blood talisman's spiritual body doesn't help with cultivation. If the blood talisman's spiritual body also provided benefits for cultivation, then Wang Shu's future potential would be even higher, Lu Chongqing thought to himself. His son Lu Qingshan's Gengjin body constitution benefited the cultivation of metal attribute techniques. Even with a 6th-grade spiritual root, as long as he cultivated metal attribute techniques, his speed was not weaker than that of a top-grade spiritual root. But the blood talisman's spiritual body lacked such enhancement effects. Thankfully, his daughter Lu Wangsha's spiritual root was not weak either, possessing a 4th-grade spiritual root. Otherwise, even with the blood talisman's spiritual body, her cultivation would be hindered by her focus on talismans. But I have the 99 mystical talisman scripture, this talismanic cultivation technique. After condensing the life-bound divine talisman, both talisman making and casting talismans do offer cultivation benefits. In such a case, it's an indirect enhancement. Lu Chongqing thought of his 99 mystical talisman scripture as an orthodox-level cultivation technique. It was naturally profound and infinite, allowing one's cultivation level and mastery over the talisman path to complement each other and progress side by side. This blood talisman spiritual body is related to that blood pattern in the Dantian. If I could thoroughly understand this blood pattern, trace and outline it to create a talisman, could it possibly enhance others' insights into the talisman path? Lu Chongqing suddenly had another thought. In the cultivation world, many formations, talismans, and even cultivation techniques are the result of studying and imitating the spiritual patterns manifested by the rules of heaven and earth. Like the blood pattern of the blood talisman spiritual body, it is also a manifestation of the rules of heaven and earth, incredibly arcane. If he could sketch it out, it might yield some of its effects. Such spiritual patterns, manifested from the rules of heaven and earth, are not so easily comprehended and understood. If one glance could uncover their mysteries, spiritual bodies wouldn't be so rare. Lu Chongqing shook his head, not dwelling on this thought any further. The blood pattern was extremely arcane. To comprehend and grasp it was as difficult as understanding the 81 spiritual patterns of the 99 mystical talisman scripture. It was not something he could grasp at his current level. Maybe after a few more steps in the talisman path, it would be worth research. Stepping out of the large vat, there was still about half a vat of spiritual blood left inside. Lu Chongqing didn't waste it. Chapter 424. Effects of the blood talisman's spiritual body. 10,000 poisons devour the heart. He cast a cleansing technique to clean his body and after dressing up, used the gourd to collect what was inside to feed the 6-winged golden silkworm. Such demon beast spiritual blood is simply not something ordinary energy refining cultivators can withstand. If it's for awakening the blood talisman's spiritual body in Wangshu, it absolutely cannot be done like this. When the time comes to go to Jiuxiao Immortal City, we also need to see if there is any second-rank spiritual blood with a gentle nature. Lu Chongqing looked at the spiritual blood gourd in his hand, murmuring inwardly. The process of awakening his spiritual body just now seemed simple. But this was because he had already achieved foundation establishment and had cultivated the 100 refinements treasure body art. If it were a regular energy refining cultivator, under the stimulation of the 3 types of spiritual blood, their meridians and dantian would probably be damaged. As for Lu Wangshu's blood talisman spiritual body, he planned to awaken it when the child was around 10 years old. At that time, Lu Wangshu would not be able to withstand such spiritual blood for body refinement. Therefore it was necessary to find some kind of spiritual blood with a gentle attribute, and even one that would be beneficial after absorption, to activate the spiritual body. However, with more than a decade to go, Lu Chongqing was not in a hurry. If it really couldn't be done, he would go to find the child's mother. He did not have a way to obtain it, but Xianxia had the channel of Qingyun sect, which would clearly make acquiring such second-rank spiritual blood much simpler. Just like the information related to the blood talisman spiritual body and the green jade luan bird. He had consulted many references on this topic but had not found any relevant information. Yet not long after Xianxia returned to Qingyun sect, she managed to find detailed information on these 2 items. This is the benefit of having the power of a sect. Lu Chongqing sighed. He deeply understood what it meant to enjoy the shade under a big tree. He then went over to the table, took out a talisman brush and talisman-making materials from the storage bag, and started drawing talismans. After awakening the blood talisman spiritual body, he felt an inexplicable proficiency in drawing talismans. It was as though the moment he picked up the brush, he knew he was a natural-born talisman path prodigy. Lu Chongqing effortlessly drew 2 second-rank talismans. Drawing second-rank talismans, I can't really feel the benefits brought by the blood talisman spiritual body. I must have a new talisman path inheritance for me to comprehend on my own, or draw 3rd-rank talismans, before I can truly experience the effects of the blood talisman spiritual body. Lu Chongqing put away the talisman brush. Now for him, drawing second-rank talismans was as easy as eating and drinking. Only the yet-to-be-experienced 3rd-rank talismans could offer him some challenge. After leaving the courtyard, Lu Chongqing went to check on his family's peace talisman hall. His son Lu Xianji was also there. Otherwise he seldom visited this place before. But spending this time was worthwhile. Thanks to his early enlightenment teaching and the guidance over this year, Lu Xianji had made considerable progress in puppet mastery. He estimated that in another year or so he would be able to create first-grade lower-quality puppets and thus qualify as a puppet master. By that time, Lu Chongqing planned to open a shop in the Red Leaf Valley Market. He would let him, along with Lu Chuanjun, Lu Rui and his brother Lu Yun, manage the shop together. To personally get accustomed to the ins and outs of running a business. After all, in the future when he established his own family he would definitely engage in business. For this aspect he certainly wouldn't have the time and energy to devote himself and would leave it to his wives and children to manage. And to entrust it to his children, it was natural to let them learn, experience and understand as much as possible right now. This would also reveal whether the children had any talent in this area. If they did, they could develop further in this direction in the future. If not, they could be put in charge of other aspects. After all, in Lu Chengsheng's vision, with so many inheritances, the family's future industry chain was also extensive. Therefore his children could choose to develop in many different areas. Boss, all the supreme talismans in the store have been sold out. I was wondering if you could restock in these few days, as many customers have been inquiring. Gao He immediately spoke up upon seeing Lu Chongqing arriving. How come this month's supreme talismans sold out so fast? Lu Chongqing was somewhat surprised to hear this. Due to his influence, the Peace Talisman Hall was indeed doing well. The selling out of 1 second-rank Spirit Talisman and 10 Supreme Talismans each month was almost a given. It provided him with a substantial income every month. Because he often forgot about it, being away he would store a few dozen Supreme Talismans with Gao He. He remembered that he had just restocked not long before, so how could they have sold out so quickly? It's said that 2 days ago in the Heiyun mountain range, a battle between 2 demons caused a mountain to collapse, resulting in a sky full of rosy light, suspected to be a relic and attracting many cultivators to explore. That's why there have been a lot of purchases of upper-grade and supreme talismans, and a number of regular customers have also come to inquire, so I sold the previously stored stock. Gao He explained. A relic. Lu Chongqing nodded slightly upon hearing this. He understood that such occurrences would attract swarms of cultivators seeking fortune, and would boost sales of elixir medicines, talismans, and magic artifacts. Alright, I will draw some extra talismans these few days. Lu Chongqing nodded in response. Given this development, he was also willing to sell more talismans. One reason was to make money and the other was to earn some reputation for the store. After all, at a time when other stores were out of stock, being able to restock would make customers think of his store first the next time they wanted to buy talismans. However, he had no interest in such so-called relics. He then cautioned his son Lu Xianji at the store to stay away from such relics. Absolutely not to get carried away exploring or let someone coax him into venturing into such places. Dad, there's no need for you to say more, I know. Chapter 425. Effects of the Blood Talisman's Spiritual Body, 10,000 Poisons Devour the Heart. Moreover, only at the 4th level of energy refinement. Venturing into such ruins would be tantamount to courting death. Lu Xianji heard his father's words and cracked a smile. Good, as long as you know. Seeing his son was aware, Lu Chongqing also nodded in relief. After all, stories of insignificant characters in the cultivation world stumbling upon adventures and rising to prominence occurred every day. He genuinely feared that his son, in a moment of folly, or after being coaxed by some robber cultivator, would run off on some escapade. Therefore, even if he had already advised him on this matter before, he still continued with his earnest admonitions. 5 Poisons Cult. Tianju Peak. In an antique and luxurious room, a multicolored spring pool emitted steaming purple mist. Neatly folded by the pool were snow-white silken garments with golden trim, a bodice embroidered with a purple phoenix, plain lingerie and jade-white stockings. There was also a terrifying blood-colored spider, its entire body emitting a sinister red light. Within the multicolored spring, there was a breathtakingly beautiful girl with an ethereal demeanor. The beautiful girl's eyes were tightly closed, with only her head and jet-black hair floating on the water's surface. Xiaochan, come to my great hall. Just then a voice echoed in the girl's mind. Master. Meng Xiaochan, upon hearing the voice, opened her eyes. She immediately stood up from the multicolored spring, utterly nude. In an instant the perfection of the girl's figure was revealed without a doubt. Her slender waist seemed to ask for a gentle embrace, and her legs were straight and long. Her dark, smooth hair cascaded down, covering her pert buttocks shaped like a new moon. Her skin, still dotted with multicolored droplets, made her jade-like complexion even more sparklingly translucent and dazzling, as if her entire body was aglow. The girl floated up, her pale hand lightly lifting. The multicolored droplets slid off her skin, causing the clothes by the pool to fly up and dress her neatly. Meng Xiaochan, now clothed in purple, had an ethereal and elusive aura, just like that of a celestial fairy. This contrasted starkly with the terrifying blood-colored spider beside her. Exiting the room, Meng Xiaochan transformed into an escape light and arrived at a magnificent palace atop the peak, directly entering it. This great hall was exceedingly magnificent and splendid. The floor was paved with black jade that shone with a slick brightness, and the walls had elaborately carved beams and painted rafters. But the images all depicted snakes, spiders, butterflies, and all sorts of insects. The walls were further adorned with lamp fixtures shaped like spirit snakes, made of silver, which added a mysterious, eerie chill to the room. Bzbzb. Upon seeing Meng Xiaochan approach, a purple jade spider with over a dozen pairs of eyes by the ebony bed opened its eyes. I greet you, master. Meng Xiaochan, seeing this scene, remained composed and respectfully bowed to the ebony bed. Xiaochan, you're here. A languid, seductive voice came from within the purple gauze of the bed, bewitching to the soul. May I know why master has summoned me here? Meng Xiaochan continued to speak. The purple gauze curtains slowly parted. On the ebony bed, a woman in a purple dress, around 28 or 29 years old, was lounging. Her face was stunningly beautiful and enchanting, her slender phoenix eyes appearing as though she had just woken from a dream, misty like blooming peach blossoms, her gaze fluid and compelling, with a bewitching power that could make one lose their soul. Her reclining posture revealed her alluring figure wrapped in the purple dress, accentuating an extraordinarily curvaceous body from head to toe, clear at a glance. Beneath the proud and prominent swell of her chest was a waist as delicate as a willow, leading down to her full and pert rear. The tantalizing curves were breathtaking, vaguely visible beneath the purple gauze, creating an allure of both concealment and revelation. Her 2 long fair legs were slightly bent, enthralling like the tail of a serpent. Xiaochan, I remember you used to live in Jiang country, didn't you? Nangong Mili's luscious lips parted slightly, her voice irresistibly charming. Master, I have lived in Jiang country since I was young, Lu Chongxing replied. Meng Xiaochan nodded. I have a task that requires a trip to Jiang country. In that case, you will accompany me when it is time to go. The woman in the purple dress rose from her ink jade bed with a languid elegance. A strand of black hair twirled past her ear and fell upon her ample and proud chest. The purple sheer dress fell, lightly covering her snow-white legs that resembled sculpted jade. To Jiang country? Upon hearing this, Meng Xiaochan felt a sudden pause in her heart. An involuntarily image of a man with a noble and handsome face, a tall and slender figure, swept into her mind like a willow in the breeze. That's right, you are currently at the bottleneck of the early stages of foundation establishment, so it's a good time for you to travel with me. This mission, if successful, will also be beneficial to you. It's an opportunity, Nangong Mili said softly, her voice sultry. Master, may I know what the task is? Meng Xiaochan asked. You'll know when the time comes. Nangong Mili's delicate steps moved nimbly as she came beside Meng Xiaochan, chuckling softly. Her voice was full of seductive charm. Or it could be said that her entire being exuded an enthralling seductiveness, capable of ensnaring souls and eroding bones, inciting temptation in the observer, fostering a desire to ravish her. Master, when do we leave? Meng Xiaochan asked, not pressing further. The command of a master is not to be disobeyed. Besides, Nangong Mili's personal involvement indicated that the mission was no simple affair. Moreover, considering the vast expanse of the Jiang country cultivation realm, as long as she didn't encounter him, going to Jiang country shouldn't pose a big problem. 1 month later. Nangong Mili said, her lips parting slightly as her jade-white fingers gently caressed Meng Xiaoquan's face. Yes, master. Meng Xiaochan nodded in agreement. How is your progress with the myriad poisons devouring heart technique? The woman in the purple dress continued to inquire as she pinched her disciple's cheek. Please inspect it, master, Meng Xiaochan replied, offering her fair wrist for examination. Her skin was exceptionally pale, yet Nangong Mili's complexion was even whiter. It was an unhealthy shade of white that added a certain sickly enchantment to her slender yet voluptuous figure, evoking pity and tenderness. Not bad, you truly deserve your title of the 1,000 strands myriad poisons body. Now you have reached a minor completion of the poison body. If this mission is completed to perfection, I will apply for a heart-eating goo for you at the sect. Nangong Mili said, her enchanting face showing a faint smile, looking captivating. Thank you, master. Upon hearing this, Meng Xiaoquan's face instantly lit up with joy. The 1,000 strands myriad poisons body is a type of spiritual body. The 5 poisons cult, incidentally, happens to have this spiritual body legacy. With the heart-eating goo, her myriad poisons devouring heart technique could reach major success. Not only would her mana be greatly enhanced by 50%, but her chances of achieving core formation would also increase by 50%, providing her with a high likelihood of attaining true elixir. It's a pity I lost the Lockhart goo. Otherwise, with it to become the holy maiden of the 5 poisons cult, there would have been no need for all this trouble. Meng Xiaochan sighed softly to herself. She remembered the Lockhart goo that was now in Lu Changsheng's hands. This Lockhart goo was a top-level earth spirit goo, nearing the level of a heavenly spirit goo. Even within the 5 poisons cult, it was exceedingly rare. Chapter 426. Ruins Secret Realm 2nd Rank Monster Core. _1. Before one knew it, half a month had passed. Because of the Black Cloud Mountain Range ruins, these days Lu Chongxing, besides drawing 2nd rank talismans, had also created quite a few supreme first-grade talismans. Not just him, Lu Miaoga had also been busy making talismans these days. After all, the Black Cloud Mountain Range was not far from the Red Leaf Valley Market. It was only a journey of 4,000 or 5,000 li. Therefore many cultivators in the vicinity went to Black Cloud Mountain Range hoping to try their luck. Moreover, after half a month's fermentation, the buzz about the Black Cloud Mountain ruins not only hadn't decreased in the slightest, but because of several news rumors that people had obtained ancient techniques, foundation establishment spirit objects, and rare treasures from the ruins, the excitement intensified. attracting even more people. After all, for most cultivators, a cultivation technique or a foundation establishment spirit object represented an incredible opportunity. They could pursue it all their lives and yet might not come across such fortune. Now that such ruins had emerged, naturally they would not miss out. It was for this reason that the flow of people in the Red Leaf Valley market had increased. Talismans, elixir medicines and magic artifacts were selling like hotcakes, with prices rising by 30 to 40%, earning Lu Chongqing a tidy sum. Facing this situation, the four big families also pulled staff to increase patrols and tighten security in the Red Leaf Valley market. To prevent robber cultivators that might be attracted by the Black Cloud Mountain Range ruins from seizing the opportunity to create chaos. After all, the previous incidents of robber cultivators causing trouble had left the four big families deeply shaken. During a chat with Lu Miaoge, Lu Chongqing learned that the Lu family, Bai family, Yu family, Jing family and many other local cultivation families had sent people to explore the ruins at Black Cloud Mountain. Cultivation is like crossing a river, 1,000 horses and 1,000 troops all competing for the sale. With such an opportunity presented, if they didn't vie for it, how could they ever succeed and make progress in their cultivation? Yet the Lu family ancestor Lu Yunzhong still remained stationed in Qingzhou Mountain. He did not participate in exploring the ruins. The Yu family, Jing family and Bai family were the same. They were only small families. With just one or two foundation establishment ancestors as their pillar, they dared not risk venturing out for opportunities. After all, they were not individuals but support pillars of their families. If any accident occurred, the whole family would be in trouble, facing catastrophic disaster. They could only send a few energy refinement late-stage cultivators to explore. However, Lu Chongqing heard that some foundation establishment cultivators had already gone to explore the ruins. Qingyun's sect has entered the scene? A few days later, while chatting with Lu Yuanling, Lu Chongqing learned that Qingyun's sect had also made a move on the Black Cloud Mountain secret realm. That's right, it has now been confirmed that this ruin is a small secret realm, filled with numerous opportunities and treasures. Qingyun's sect of course would not miss out, Lu Yuanling said. As the second elder of the Lu family and the person in charge of Red Leaf Valley Market, he was very focused on this kind of news. Once Qingyun's sect steps in, the whole secret realm will belong to them. Lu Chongqing clicked his tongue. Four loose cultivators and various powers, Qingyun's sect's involvement was a completely different level of challenge. The other loose cultivators and forces simply had no chance. Not exactly, Qingyun's sect hasn't sealed off the secret realm nor driven away loose cultivators and other forces. Lu Yuanling shook his head. Oh, so it seems Qingyun's sect is quite generous, Lu Chongqing said, raising his eyebrows. He had assumed that Qingyun's sect would directly seal off the secret realm and forbid others from entering. After all, if Qingyun's sect did this, nobody else would have much to say, nor dare to object. Chongqing, you are still too young. It's not about Qingyun's sect being generous. The hazards lurking within such a secret realm are undeniable. And Qingyun's sect naturally wouldn't want their own disciples to be the vanguard. Better to share a bit of the spoils, letting our families and loose cultivators act as the cannon fodder to explore, Lu Yuanling scoffed. At his age and having been through much, he had a very clear understanding of these matters. Lu Chongqing suddenly understood the rationale upon hearing this. It's like the Purple Shadow secret realm controlled by the Immortal sects. If they wholly relied on their own disciples for exploration, not only would the gains be limited, but they also risked losing disciples in the process. It was better to let loose cultivators and others join in. After all, any gains made inside would require sharing some of the spoils with the Immortal sects. Four loose cultivators and smaller forces, facing such secret realms and miraculous opportunities, trying to profit and gain advantages is quite difficult, Lu Chongqing remarked. Every time he heard about such things, he felt deeply for the struggles of the lower-level cultivators in the cultivation world. Lacking extraordinary talent, achieving success in cultivation seemed almost too difficult. One could only gamble with fate continuously. At least I have the system, Lu Chongqing thought to himself. With the system, he only needed to live a settled life, get married, take concubines, have children, and he would obtain countless opportunities and treasures that others could not reach in their lifetimes, thus making his path to immortality clear and smooth. At this moment, Lu Changsheng's thoughts inevitably turned to his friend in the distant Azure Phoenix Immortal City, Li Feiyu. Although the latter had not explained in detail, he knew that Li Feiyu's path involved hunting demon beasts, exploring ruins and venturing into predecessors' caves, a life of taking risks. Just like these loose cultivators, a moment of carelessness could lead to an accident. In Jiang country along the Myriad Beasts mountain range. This mountain range stretched endlessly, starting in the south of Jiang country and extending across a large part of the southern wilderness cultivation realm. It also served as a natural barrier between Jiang country and Yu country. Because the Myriad Beasts mountain range was full of demon beasts and grew many rare spiritual medicine and herbs, cultivators frequently entered the range to gain experience and hunt demon beasts. After all, for cultivators, every part of a demon beast was valuable. Flesh, fur, bones, all could fetch a good price. If one could come across young beasts or rare spirit grass, it would be an even bigger windfall. At this time, on the outskirts of the Myriad Beasts mountain range, 5 cultivators were besieging 2 blue serpentine demon beasts. Chapter 427. Ruins Secret Realm 2nd Rank Monster Core. Both of these giant pythons were extremely massive. With a girth over a meter thick, their bodies radiated a powerful spiritual light, and their eyes flickered with a cold light, continuously spewing frosty air at the humans. Roar. One of the cultivators let out a fierce shout, emitting a lion-like roar that caused the attacking giant python to hesitate. Then a golden rope was thrown, binding one of the pythons, and he shouted loudly, "Old Li." Immediately, a middle-aged man around 30 tall and wearing a black outfit, his face fierce, and wielding a red long saber, burst forth with rapid steps. His muscles bulged and the red long saber in his hand surged with a reddish glow as he ferociously chopped at the 7-inch vital part of the python. Clang! The blow was like thunder, powerful and domineering, shattering the python's protective spiritual light. Then it struck the azure snake scales, producing a metallic ring and slightly cracked the scales. Hiss hiss hiss. The giant python roared angrily, its body flaring with spiritual light, and suddenly lashed its tail, striking the man in the black outfit. Boom! The man in the black outfit, along with his saber, was sent flying backward, crashing into a large tree in the distance and toppling it over. Luckily, at the critical moment his protective aura surged, warding off most of the damage, and he was not gravely injured. Tao's the chance kill. Seeing this, the 3 that were entangled with the other giant python also simultaneously wielded their magic artifacts, cast their techniques, and turned their attention towards the python whose protective spiritual light had been broken. Ayo. Under the overwhelming onslaught, the giant python threw its head back and screamed pitifully. Such roars made the other giant python nearly go mad. But these 5 people clearly had experience dealing with demon beasts. In this situation they did not opt to keep up a frontal assault, but instead kept up the entanglement. After grinding one python to death, they only then started to confront the other python head-on and gradually killed it. This haul isn't bad. The materials from these 2 azure blood pythons can sell for quite a bit of money, said an older man with gray hair wearing a gray robe. These 2 azure blood pythons seem to be a pair. I wonder if they laid eggs. If they did lay eggs, then we've struck it rich, remarked a middle-aged woman in a red robe. Laying eggs? What are you thinking? We can't be that lucky, a man in a blue robe said, shaking his head. Following that, the group made their way towards the cave of the 2 azure blood pythons. These demon beasts live in the mountains, and if they encounter treasures, remains of cultivators, bodies of other demon beasts, or even spiritual medicine and herbs, they would bring them back to their caves. Hence, sometimes after killing a demon beast, exploring its cave can yield unexpected treasures. There actually are eggs, 8 azure blood python eggs. The woman in the red robe saw something deep in the cave, her eyes lighting up as she exclaimed with surprise. What, really? These 8 azure blood python eggs could sell for 400 to 500 spirit stones. We've made a fortune with this haul. Upon hearing this, the others looked at the eggs, their eyes revealing surprise and delight. For them, 400 to 500 spirit stones split amongst them meant that each would receive roughly 100 spirit stones. A considerable profit indeed. However, the old man in the gray robe fixated on a dark gray dull-looking core at that moment. Upon seeing the dull-colored core, his slightly murky eyes widened and his throat felt somewhat dry. Xiaobo, what are you looking at? The woman in the red robe noticed the old man in gray robe staring motionlessly and asked aloud. Then she followed his gaze and suddenly her eyes landed on the dark core. "This is a monster core," the woman in the red robe exclaimed. A monster core, similar to the Tao foundation of cultivators of the human race, is the core that stores mana. However, not all second-rank demon beasts possess a monster core. Only some rare or particularly powerful second-rank demon beasts have a monster core. Because a monster core signifies that the demon beast has the potential to advance to third rank. If it advances to third rank, the monster core will also transform into a demon core, comparable to the true elixir or golden core of nascent soul cultivators. Now, inside the lair of the azure blood python, a monster core had appeared. Although it looked like a lot of its energy had dissipated, it was still worth a fortune. The addition of 8 azure blood python eggs and a monster core suddenly made the atmosphere within the cave tense. After all, wealth stirs human hearts. The 5 of them often cooperated in hunting demon beasts but did not have much of a relationship beyond that. The appearance of such a great benefit naturally led to thoughts arising in their minds. This monster core could probably sell for 2,000 to 3,000 spirit stones. Once sold, each of us could get at least 500 to 600 spirit stones, the old man in the gray robe said to the others. Upon hearing this, the others showed expressions of delight. This amount of spirit stones was no small sum. "Who should hold this monster core?" the man in the green robe asked somberly. For something like the azure blood python, they could directly process the carcass as material and divide its value equally among them. The same went for the snake eggs. The extra 3 snake eggs would be converted into spirit stones. But a priceless monster core like this couldn't be dealt with in the same way. As soon as these words were spoken, the atmosphere in the cave tensed up again. "What's going on? I feel so dizzy." At that moment, the woman in the red robe suddenly clutched her forehead and staggered. "Not good, there's poison." The man in the green robe, trembling, also sensed that something was wrong. "Who poisoned us?" The man in black, looking ferocious, shuddered and stumbled as he barked out the question. Turning to the old man in the gray robe, the elegantly dressed middle-aged man accused coldly, "Old Xiao, you're the one who poisoned us." As he spoke, he formed a spiritual energy shield around himself, attempting to block out the poison. "Yao Dao friend, you actually have an anti-poison artifact?" Chapter 428, Ruin's Secret Realm Second-Rank Monster Core. The elderly man in a gray robe looked at the refined gentleman with some surprise. His soul-severing powder was colorless and tasteless. Unless one had divine sense, ordinary cultivators couldn't detect it. So the fact that the refined gentleman hadn't been poisoned meant that he must possess some kind of poison-resistant treasure. Upon hearing this, the other 3 glared angrily at the elderly man in the gray robe. But at this moment they could no longer speak, swaying as if about to fall, coughing up blood and collapsing to the ground. "Yao fellow Daoist, I'm afraid your treasure can't completely block my soul-severing powder. You should hurry and leave while you can," the gray-robed elder continued to speak, his voice unhurried. "Very well, Yao acknowledges his defeat," said the refined gentleman upon hearing this, well aware that he was no match for the gray-robed elder. He cautiously eyed the gray-robed elder and slowly backed out of the cave. "Wait a moment." Just as the refined gentleman was about to leave, the gray-robed elder suddenly called out to stop him. He said, "Yao fellow Daoist, take these few snake eggs with you. In return, let's consider this matter settled. How does that sound?" "No need." Although tempted, Yao fellow Daoist didn't dare to stay longer and quickly departed. But just then, Puchi, a streak of purple light streaked out from the sleeve of the gray-robed elder. It was a thunder talisman, aimed to strike the refined gentleman. At the same time, a golden cone-shaped magic artifact was deployed, transforming into a streak of golden light aiming for the refined gentleman. How could he possibly let someone escape under such circumstances? If word got out, he might be ambushed before he could even get back to Azure Phoenix Immortal City. After all, within the Myriad Beasts mountain range, not only demon beasts were dangerous, but other cultivators also had to be guarded against. That was also why many cultivators formed teams to enter the Myriad Beasts mountain range. It wasn't just because the mountains were perilous but also because they feared being exhausted after exiting the range and then encountering robber cultivators. Boom boom boom. Facing the onslaught of the gray-robed elder, the refined gentleman immediately deployed a small earthen yellow shield. However, under the bombardment of the attack, the spiritual energy shield around him swiftly dimmed, and he felt poison entering his body. Just as the elder had said, he did have a poison-resistant treasure. But it was just an ordinary item and couldn't continuously block the enemy's poison. Puck, the gray-robed elder kept attacking. The refined gentleman knew he was no match for the elder, and retreated incessantly, fleeing the cave dwelling. But the gray-robed elder pursued without delay. Just as the two had barely left the cave and the man in black who was poisoned and had fainted opened his eyes. "Such a formidable poison, colorless, tasteless, without a trace," he murmured. "If I hadn't cultivated the profound body refinement technique, I might have fallen here," said Li Feiyu, his expression serious. He had noticed something off about the elder immediate and sensed something was amiss. He promptly sealed his pores to stop breathing. But the poison was indeed formidable, colorless, tasteless, and left no trace. If he hadn't cultivated his body refinement technique to the 3rd level, with his flesh almost as tough as someone in the energy refinement late stage coupled with some resistance to poison, he would have been done for there. He didn't delay. He took out a detoxification pill from his storage bag, swallowed it, and began to purge the poison from his system. Then he held a talisman in his hand and continued to feign death, waiting for the gray-robed elder to return. Before long, the gray-robed elder hurried back to the cave. His breathing was slightly disordered. In order to finish off the refined gentleman quickly, he had held nothing back. "After this expedition, I can stop living this blood-shedding life," the gray-robed elder muttered, holding a 2nd-rank monster core in his hand, his face showing delight. He was already over 60 and long past the possibility of foundation establishment. Now his hunting of demon beasts was for the sake of his descendants. However, at that moment he suddenly sensed a scorching heat and a sharpness. Not good. The gray-robed elder subconsciously tried to form a spiritual energy shield. But the hastily constructed shield was immediately shattered by the fire talisman and the fierce and domineering blade aura. In the next instant, "Puck," the sound of a blade piercing flesh could be heard. As the gray-robed elder's field of vision tumbled, he fell from the air and saw a headless corpse. It was his own corpse. And standing behind the body was a robust man dressed in black, holding a red long blade. How is he not dead? With shock and unwillingness, the gray-robed elder's consciousness plunged into endless darkness. Huff. After slaying the gray-robed elder with a single cut, Li Feiyu exhaled deeply. The situation had been extremely tense for him as well. After all, the elder had a 9th-level energy refinement cultivation while he was only at the mid-stage. His only reliance was his body refinement technique, which was at the level of the late energy refinement. He quickly collected the storage bags of several people in the cave. He then used the flame bullet technique to reduce the bodies to ashes. It might be dangerous to return to Azure Phoenix Immortal City alone, he mused. This monster core might just allow me to break through the bottleneck of the energy refinement late stage, he considered. With both the cultivation from the energy refinement late stage and my body refinement technique, I stand a better chance of making it back to Azure Phoenix Immortal City safely, Li Feiyu speculated, his gaze intense as he looked at the gray monster core in his hand. Demon beast crystal cores were mostly violent in nature. If a cultivator absorbed it directly, not only would much of the energy be wasted but it could also injure the body. It was nowhere as effective as refining it into elixir medicines. But given the circumstances, Li Feiyu could not afford to care about that. As for the incident at the Black Cloud Mountain Range's secret realm, other than earning a tidy sum, it hadn't affected Lu Changsheng's daily life much. He spent most of his days now on talisman making, drawing 2nd-rank talismans in preparation for his journey to Jiuxiao Immortal City. After nearly a year he managed to save up almost 100 2nd-rank spirit talismans, enough to form a talisman refinement formation capable of blasting away cultivators at the foundation establishment late stage, or even those with a false core. But when it came to making a talisman formation, one can never have too many talismans. The more talismans there are, the greater the power of the talisman formation.